Citizens Charter. Did you go through it? Yeah, people? Did you go through it with respect to just RTI and Citizens Charter? I know you've started. So that's the basic question, if you've gone through it or not. Because that is something which is going to determine how we are going to proceed further with respect to code of ethics and code of conduct. So few of the final pieces. So did you go through like RTI and Citizens Charter? It was provided in the PPT, it was provided in the notes. Did you go through it, people? Yeah, everyone is so silent. They've just joined the session, but it seems everyone is like in half sleep. Yes, people. Is the screen freezing or everyone is so silent? I'm unable to determine. Okay, no, the screen is not freezing. Ma'am, there is video problem. No, the screen, yeah, the screen will be blur, kind of what, like this is for everyone. If you can see my head, okay, and if you can see my hands, then everything is good. If my head and hands is visible, everything is good. Actually, I by mistake wore a green colored kurta, and because it's a green colored kurta, so the background, we have a green room where I take the session, so the background is a green screen, and the green screen and my green kurta is merging, and because of that you can see only my head and hands, rest everything will be in a haze. So till the time you can see my head and hands, I think it's a very interesting combination to see your teacher like that. So yeah, it was just by mistake that I just wore a green kurta, because of which you can see me in this way. So how about, yes, attending a class with Jadu? How about that? All right. So, matlab, I think that's interesting, right? Attending the session like this. All right. So it's not the screen that is blur, it is I who would be experiencing that. Hmm? Video नहीं आ रहा, फिर से refresh करो. Is it fine? Is the video better? I just tried to fix it. I don't know about it. I think it's still getting stuck or what. Is it better? The video and the audio, people? All right, fine. Okay, okay. If you are able to see me and hear me, then that's fine. Okay. So, did you go through RTI and Citizens Charter, people? We like discussed about RTI and Citizens Charter in the previous session. So just like showing you a basic segment that what is an RTI and what is a Citizens Charter. RTI you have done quite thoroughly, like in your governance class, so I did not touch it. So, and with respect to Citizens Charter, what I did was I showed you the Citizens Charter. This is an example of Citizens Charter at primary health center. You can find Citizens Charter at banks, post offices, and different other government offices as well. And it is supposed to be like informing you about the basics. So I've given you Citizens Charter, the origin of Citizens Charter, and then the 6 principles which would govern the Citizens Charter. This is something which is important, the 6 principles of Citizens Charter, because this is something which will help you to arrive at critical reflection. Okay. So, like for example, you can see it's given over here that quality improvement, and quality of services. So, this quality improvement, quality of services will bring in accountability and transparency. Again, choice whenever, wherever possible, this will be associated with fundamental rights. Standards, what to expect, is again related to information sharing. Values, so value for taxpayers money, so again this is related to efficiency. Accountability to individual and organization, and transparency are definitely going to improve, and they will be subparts of governance when we speak of it, right? So, with respect to this, when you see Citizens Charter in India, there are like there's basic information, there are objectives which I had shared with all of you, the components like if you imagine a citizens charter, so like let's say in a citizens charter, all of you can see that it is like somewhat like this, or a board, and where there will be a vision statement, then there will be a mission statement, then there will be like what kind of services it is supposed to provide. So services, after services you can find there will be also a time frame, that how the services till what time it can be fulfilled. Then also grievance redressal mechanism, if your issue is not like addressed, then who to reach, how to reach, right? So all that can also be associated with a citizens charter. After this, you can see the vision statement, like there is this example of vision statement of CBIC, admission statement of CBIC. And after giving this example, then I have given you evaluation of a citizens charter. This is something which can be important for a 10 marker question, nothing more. Then after this evaluation part, I have also provided lessons learned, like what we have learned from having a citizens charter, and probably what more can be done. So this is also important for 10 marker questions. See, there are already so many important areas in the ethics paper that asking an exclusive questions from citizens charter is tough. It will, if it will be asked, it will be not more than 10 marks, and the nature of question will be that how citizens charter ensures information sharing and transparency. Is, has it been able to ensure, or has it been able to like ascertain good governance in India? So illustrate with suitable examples like that. So the critical analysis is something that will be asked. Hence the areas of marking important should be memorized by you, though you have like done it in governance, but just deal with that bit at least. All right. Now, so with this kind of insight, we step into code of ethics and code of conduct. Under code of ethics and code of conduct, first and foremost, you need to understand that this specific diagram, whenever we speak of administration, okay, administration. So under administration, we can see that there are three subsegments. First is related to laws. Second is associated with conscience, and third is associated with ethics. So when I say ethics, here comes code of conduct, right? So for running an administrative department, we need all the three, okay? And we have already discussed about laws, we have already discussed about conscience, right? Just like yesterday we were elaborating about laws, rules, regulations, why they are important, how to ensure or ascertain them, and what is conscience, and how conscience influences our thought process and decision making. This part we had discussed. Now this is the third part, the code of ethics, code of conduct, that needs to be discussed. So we all can see that ethics, it comes not in an abstract form. Ethics comes in our lives, in administration, in the form of code of conduct. Okay. So like code of conduct, it is basically a set of ethics that is like associated with what is prevailing in a given organization, and what ought to be followed in a specific way or in a particular way in a given organization, when we are discussing about the given dimension pertaining to code of ethics and code of conduct. So what are conduct codes or code of conduct? So it is associated with codified and established values, principles, specific types of behavior, which some, like we can consider, the organization must follow. It should always prevail in an organization. There should be no two thoughts about it or compromising with it. Okay. This code of conduct will act as a bridging gap between the conscience, as you can see, I've drawn the diagram, between the conscience of an employee and the laws of an organization. So code of conduct will act as a bridging gap when we are discussing about it. Very briefly, I have given you some insight related to what is code of ethics and what is code of conduct. So all of you can probably see this, which is given over here. So code of ethics, when we speak of it, it is like A set of principles which influence the judgment. Okay, a set of principles which is influencing the judgment. And so it is related to what? A set of principles. It is associated with what? Core values of an organization, that is guiding in decision making. We can see no action prescribed for its violation, so you cannot violate it. Okay, there is no like because it's ethics, no, so it's abstract, so you cannot it's not a law that you it can be punishable, so there is no action prescribed for its violation. That's the reason it's not a law, it's not binding, but it is suggestive. Ethics are what? They're suggestive. This is what should be followed, this is what should be done, right? It is standards of what is right, what is wrong, but the standards are codified. They are, I would say, we can see they are codified in the form of law, and they are codified in the form of code of ethics and code of conduct, that what ought to be followed, which action needs to be taken by whom, holding what position. So here we can see it includes values like honesty, political neutrality, impartiality, okay, while taking a decision. Now the truth is, honesty, political neutrality, impartiality, they are values. They are the or rather code of ethics which you cannot defy. Now the thing is, how will you defy? You will be defying it maybe by specific action, and that action will be scanned, that action will be brought to scanner or brought to punishment, or any kind of, we can say, action that ought to be taken. It would be taken under code of ethics. No, it would be taken under law. It would be taken that you breached a law, and the action would be analyzed on the basis of law. But code of ethics will be guiding that law, that what ought to be followed, what ought to be observed. Okay, so here conscience is used for organization, profit, or it is for worker evaluation. Conscience here is associated with, we can say, the worker, the employee. So how the employee is thinking and behaving. Laws are associated with organization, conscience is associated with employee, and the bridging gap is code of conduct. This is what I had said, Shanvaz. Okay, so code of conduct, when we are discussing about it, it is a set of guidelines, the guidelines which is influencing the employees actions. We can also see that it is set of rules, and the set of rules issued by the organization, that is providing do's and don'ts to, like, we can say, the government, and how an individual ought to act in a given situation. All right, again we can see, when we are discussing about code of conduct, just a second, because it's getting little cold, so I'll just set the temperature. I hope I don't drop the mic. Give me a moment. Right now nothing will happen, later my bones will ache if the room gets too chilly. So I thought that before I push myself to that situation, it's good that I just, like, Arey, we are in a basement, Akula, and in the basement it's like a air packed, like airtight room. The noise, like, cancellation possibilities are there. It's just air packed, airtight. So if AC won't be there, we will die, for the simple reason there will be a lot of air pollution. So it's working more as a, like, we can say, disinfectant, and more not as a disinfectant, more as a, we can say, air purifier. So you keep it at 27, and it will keep acting as an air purifier for a compact room which is in the basement. Yeah, today I'm camouflaging the room. Oh, sorry, camouflaging the screen, Ajay, because today I'm playing Jadu Jadu. Okay, that's the reason. Now, so when we are talking about it with respect to, like, code of conduct, so with respect to this code of conduct, here we all can just reflect upon these given terms. So this code of conduct, when I'm saying that it is giving a set of guidelines, that what are the do's and don'ts which an employer, which an employee needs to follow. Okay, so it is giving the specific provisions associated with a member violates these, like, provisions, the action can be taken, because code of conduct is binding in nature. Okay, so violation invites action. Okay, violation will invite action. In code of ethics, it's what? Guiding principle. So that does not invite action. But the code of ethics, when it influences the code of conduct or the law, then it will start inviting action. As you know, because ethics are not punishable. It is like ethics inspiring the law or the code of conduct, that is something which will be punishable. Okay. So it includes provisions like not accepting a gift from a person who whom the organization does business with, and not joining a political party. So these are like associated with the like provisions, what are the do's and don'ts which needs to be followed associated with the job, right, or associated with the work. Now when we are discussing about this given dimension, we need to understand the like core difference between the two. Okay. So with respect to the given segment, when we are talking about code of ethics and code of conduct, you can reflect upon first and foremost the definition that code of conduct refers to those codified and established, so maybe codified and established values, principles, and specific behavior. And specific behavior that are prevailing, that are prevailing or must prevail in different professions. In different professions. We can also connect it with this given possibility that they act as a bridge. They act as a bridge between, and remember this sentence, there's no shortcut to it. So, between the conscience of an employee and laws of an organization. Laws of an organization, right? When we speak of it. So, probably when we are discussing about this given subsegment, we also can understand the possibility related to like the component of code of ethics. So in this given subsegment, we all can understand that this possibility of code of ethics is associated with, we can say, it is just providing like a specific, we can say, set of guiding principles. Okay. So with respect to it, what is it, like RPA is an example of code of conduct. RPA or model code of conduct. Okay. So what do you imply by that? You can, I think you can respond first to the SME. See, when we are speaking of it, every like profession, like doctors have a code of conduct. We can see lawyers have a code of conduct. You cannot breach the code of conduct when we speak of it. And if you're breaching the code of conduct, then it becomes like punishable in nature when we are discussing. So you need to have a clarity regarding the code of conduct, and accordingly, like reflecting upon the possibility, yes, it qualifies or quantifies as a misconduct when we discuss about it. So that is something which needs to be duly taken care of, right? So yeah, you can reflect it from that given perspective, and you can further substantiate the given subsegments, right? So probably for, so if you're understanding this code of conduct with respect to the code of ethics, first and foremost, probably I should just give you something related to the utility, because all this is fine. You need to understand the utility and significance, and then probably the comparison will be like more sane, because a lot of points I'll not have to repeat. So maybe I can just add a slide and first take that up. So let us first reflect upon the utility, the utility or significance, or the importance So this is something which this will be helpful if, like, suppose the question is, what role does ethics play in an organization? Okay, what role does ethics play in an organization? Okay, so you need to understand that ethics is called the spirit of law. Okay, ethics is called the spirit of law. Spirit of law. So when it is the spirit of law, you can understand that they give information, like how we are going to, um, like what kind of behavior we would possess. So they give information regarding, we can say, the behavior, regarding what kind of behavior is expected, what kind of behavior is expected, right? So we can see, like, for example, in medical field, we can see there is this Hippocratic oath. So the Hippocratic oath is associated with the conduct rules, like, the rules which ought to be followed. And we can find in the similar manner, these rules are everywhere. Like, if a politician is also taking an oath, the politician takes an oath over the constitution, and, like, the religious, like, we can say, belief set of beliefs that a person believes in, we can see that possibility even unfold in the court of law, that the religious book is brought to take an oath on the book and then speak of it, because it is religion also which is motivating us to have a set of ethos. So that's why, like, people are supposed to touch the Quran or Gita or Bible, and on the basis of it take, like, the promise that whatever they are saying, that is true. And like, whatever they are saying is not associated with, we can say, the statement that they are making is in consonance with the reality when we speak of it, right? So we can consider that ethics is the spirit of law, and that is something which is giving us, like, an indication that what kind of behavior we would be performing. So when we are talking about utility or significance or importance of it, we can consider first and foremost that it functions as a professional statement. It functions as a professional statement and has both cognitive and emotive value. Cognitive and emotive value. Okay. You're also connected that, like, when I'm saying cognitive, you understand that is related to thinking, the way you think. And emotive, it is like how you, like, process emotions. That's what you can connect with. Again, you can associate this given dimension that for a civil servant, integrity is a part of code of conduct, right? So emotive value is associated with emotions, right? So all of you can connect it, like, with respect to the ethical core of the organization. Have you seen that when, like, students, they get selected, they just go on, and in labasna inside, I mean, if you're not selected and you're faking it, you cannot enter the premises, and that's one of the proofs that you cannot get clicked next to Sheelam Param Bhushanam. So if you're selected, you enter the premises, and then there is a wall where Sheelam Param Bhushanam is written. And what is this Sheelam Param Bhushanam? Sheelam Param Bhushanam, that is written in the, like, on the walls of Labasna, it implies that character is the highest form of virtue. And when we are talking about character as the highest form of virtue, what is glorified? It is integrity. Because how does your character become highest form of virtue? What is this idea of character? So character is associated with integrity, like, in your personality. So it is integrity which gets glorified, and it is integrity that you're supposed to, like, we can say, maintain at all times. Okay. So when we are discussing about this given dimension, you all can consider that most of the possibilities related to code of ethics and code of conduct needs to be clarified. For example, in army, you can see what will be glorified. It will be the emotions that will be glorified, because that connects a person thickly to the code of conduct, because it will be the emotion that will rouse patriotism, that will rouse integration with the service rules. Okay, so you can consider, when we are talking about it, that function of code of ethics and code of conduct, when we are talking about it, it is associated with a professional statement, and it has both cognitive as well as emotive value, when we are talking about like what role ethics has to play with respect to administration. Then you can further, you can discuss yet another segment, that is, it helps professionals to make decisions correctly, to make decisions correctly by identifying what is right and what is wrong. Right. And because of this, what will happen? It will improve decision making. When you have a clarity regarding what is right and what is wrong, it is going to improve decision making. So that's what you can connect with. Further, you can also connect it with the component that it brings consistency and responsibility. Consistency and responsibility in the behavior of an employee. Right. So that's something that again you can connect with. Again, you can connect it with, we can say, it helps civil servants to do right things in the right way. To do right things in the right way. Okay. Means you are seeing an integration in means based value and ends based value. So I can simply put it means ends integration. I hope you can recall means and ends value, teleological and deontological, right? So means is deontological, ends is teleological. So there is like an integration with that given possibility. Again, you can connect it with, it brings consistency, so, and responsibility, right? It is bringing in, we can say, professional decisions, so improving decision making. It is also helping you to do right things, that is means ends integration. Then you can say that it helps in controlling corruption, in controlling corruption and the menace of favoritism. So corruption and favoritism, so any kind of biased behavior, any kind of impartial behavior. Impartial behavior is promoted, any kind of partial behavior is put under check, right? Again, you can see that it brings flexibility, flexibility in working, because you have the codes. So on the basis of it, you know that what is the ultimate value that needs to be achieved and what alternatives are there to reach that ultimate value. So it brings flexibility in the working of a public servant. In the working of a public servant means it can be associated with, we can say, the decision making component of how a public works, or what possibilities are there with respect to the public servant, right? So that's something which you can further speak of. Again, we can see that it is like sometimes associated with this given dimension, that like, you're not supposed to take gifts from the people, but you cannot refuse everything outrightly. Like, suppose someone is giving you a flower bouquet, you cannot say, oh, it is not under the service rules, why should I take flowers from you? No, you cannot. Or someone is gifting you a shawl out of respect, so you have to accept these symbolic gifts. So it is giving you a clarity, regarding like what ought to be followed under the service rules. Okay, again, you can see that it helps in taking decisions in unforeseen situations, like COVID happened, like terrorist attack happened. So in unforeseen situations, you have a clarity, okay, regarding how to behave in a specific situation. Again, you can think of like it has a positive impact on the attitude of a civil servant. All right, you can also say that it helps in resolving ethical dilemmas. It helps in resolving ethical dilemmas, right? So that's something that we would be discussing. All right, so that's like you can connect with, like for example, there is a simple rule which I had shared with all of you: any gift which is more than 5,000 will quantify into bribe. So refrain from taking gifts which are like more than 5,000 rupee. I still remember one of the students went ahead and ask this, that ma'am, what if there are small gifts which is of almost 4,999, but there are hundreds of such gifts, then what to do? I'm like, wow, slow claps for so much of creativity. People who are interested to give, bribe, they don't get into such details. They know that either the officer will accept bribe or not accept bribe, will not be acting too twisted. I mean, no one really, I mean, people who know that they are taking bribe, they don't like act in this twisted manner, because bribe is not a less amount that you'll like meander through little less than 5,000 kind of amount. So like either a person is corrupt or not corrupt, as simple as that. Okay, Rolex watch as gift should be accepted or not? I think Ajay, you have your answer. Okay, so what about collective bargaining of the worker? Is it coming from code of conduct or not? Yes, that also will come when we are speaking about the perks, the facilities, the possibilities associated with the services. So it's not that it is only prohibitive in nature. It will also talk about what are the right things to do, or what are the, we can say, it is associated, because the service benefits are already implicit in the job. So that's something which you can understand with respect to the job and how it is bringing in. So it helps civil services servants to help uphold integrity and sovereignty. Yes, with respect to integrity, yes, but sovereignty is associated with patriotism, no? So how will that come in this? Because we are talking about code of ethics related to the organization, code of conduct related to the organization, whereas national interest and respecting the national interest, fighting for the national interest, is coming under protecting the sovereignty. So let us not mix all the points properly. Okay. Flexible point, well, when we are talking about the component of flexibility in the working of a public servant, so in different situations, how to behave differently. If that has been discussed in the code of conduct, that is providing you flexibility, that okay, I don't need to stick to only one method for all situations. For different situations, there are different codes of conduct. That's how it is providing these dimension of like we can say like how to go ahead with the thing. So does the conflict of interest also have some code of ethics? Yes, conflict of interest has code of ethics. That's why we have the last point, that is it helps in resolving ethical dilemmas, right? We'll see the example, we'll just see the example. So um, Imran Khan was jailed because he accepted costly gifts worth 23 crore from Saudi Arabia for himself. Okay. So yes, with respect to this, when we are further moving ahead, um, so true, SME. So like, with respect to this, when we are discussing about the given provisions associated with code of ethics and code of conduct, we need to be very clear regarding what is like being, we can say, created, what is being created by the two. Now here, oh God, all right. First and foremost, to differentiate the two, because other than the basic overview, we need to understand this given dimension: specific behavior. And then there are principles, and the principles are guided by values. So values guiding principles, principles guiding specific behavior. This is code of ethics, and this is code of conduct for all of you. And then when we are speaking of like examples related to the two, so you can connect with this given possibility. Like, let's say I'm giving you the idea of justice. So justice, what code of ethics will be laid down for justice? For just understanding the same, you can see that it is equal treatment in equal circumstances. This is code of ethics. And with respect to, we can consider justice, we can consider it with this segment, the example, that is code of conduct will be separate queue for old age people, pregnant women. So separate queue for senior citizens. So that is the manifestation of the code of ethics, and that is the manifestation of the code of ethics. So we can like reflect of this given subsegment. All right. So with respect to this, we can say separate queue for senior citizens is a manifestation of the code of ethics. Now we can understand that integrity, when we are talking about this, you can also connect it with integrity. Maybe I can just give another example: integrity. So when I'm talking about the, like, let's say the value of integrity, so it's like giving priority to public interest. That will generate giving priority to public interest. And the value which has generated this principle, that giving priority to public interest, so that is going to generate specific behavior, that is not taking gifts of high monetary value, that is 5,000 rupees or above. So high monetary value, you can accept symbolic gifts but not gifts which is like associated with high monetary value. Okay, so when we are discussing about it, so separate queue for senior citizens is ethics or conduct? You tell me, Sakib, what do you think? Then I'll approve. And SME, please don't help him. Let us see how the child is gaining the basic understanding. Yes, Sakib, what do you think? Separate queue for senior citizens, what would it be associated with? Code of ethics or code of conduct? It is under conduct. Then why do you need an approval? When you are understanding that conduct is related to behavior and values is associated with principles. Okay, so have faith. Have faith that what you are understanding is how. Sakib, why will I say that it is under code of ethics? Just see the diagram what I have drawn. Like, am I mad or something? Code of ethics I've written, I've drawn an arrow also and connected it that it is associated with separate queue for senior citizens is a part of code of conduct. I've clearly mentioned it also on the board. Okay, And then I have also said that it is the code of conduct is associated with the separate queue because it is based on the code of ethics or the so called values and principles based on equal treatment in equal circumstance. That is the principle on which this code of conduct is based. And the value that we can consider is justice. So justice becomes the value, equal treatment in equal circumstance becomes the principle. Okay. And code of conduct is like having a separate queue. Similarly, integrity becomes the value, giving priority to public interest becomes the principle, and like code of conduct becomes not taking gifts, right? I hope that's clear. So oh, okay, that must have happened. But like explaining this, the reason is I'll tell you. This is the fifth day that I am up after sleeping just barely for 3.5, 4 hours. So please, like, try to understand. Like 5 days, morning sessions are fine only till the time that I don't have evening classes. The challenge is that with morning and evening classes and staying away from home for 17, 18 hours, it does become hectic. This is the fifth day, so despite the tiresome thing in my head, I am always trying to yeah, that's what it must have been, a slip of tongue. But while writing I was bringing in the clarity. So what happens is you sometimes do feel foggy towards the beginning of the session. It's the beginning of the session, I'm little foggy, बोलते बोलते आंखों का क्या बोलते हैं, नींद छट जाएगा, ठीक है. So the very possibility of that grogginess will go away, and the reason is as simple as that. It is like the evening classes. After the evening classes, 8:30, 8:35, by the time I reach, it's quarter to 10. And then I have to work, uploading my optional videos, this, that, it takes 12. And by the time I struggle to sleep and sleep, it can be 12:31, anything. Get up at 4:15, take a bath, get ready, leave at 5, start meditating on the way, reach here at 5:45, then start working. So all this becomes too hectic. So that's why the brain becomes like too foggy, and that's the reason. So I apologize, my bad. Yes, that's what I mean. Like in future also, if I take the morning batches, no, I'll not take the evening batch simultaneously the same day. I'll first do morning batch, then do evening batch, but not like the same day, because I realized it is quite hectic. I mean, had it been my house being very nearby, I can easily go sleep anytime during the breaks. That's also not happening, no. So that takes a toll over the health. But I'm just telling myself that I can survive. This is just the last day, and I have survived 3 weeks, so I think I can pull through. And that's how you persevere. This is nothing close to how you study for mains exam. Nothing close. When you are really, really focused for the mains exam, no, um, a notch above what I'm doing right now is what is performed. You don't get a sense of day and night. You just keep working. You just keep studying. You just like all you do is eat, sleep, as like in between breaks. Eating and sleeping is the break, and rest of the time you're just studying and studying and studying, chasing the target of completing revisions of the topics you have done, and integrating it with the larger concept, building the possibilities accordingly, thinking about what should be written in which answer. The day you actually you write the mains, you will get a glimpse of what I'm talking about. And then that day you'll realize that what ma'am was saying, actually it was the theory, and this is what I have the potential to perform. Probably the last night, the way you have performed in before your 10th board or before your 12th board, you are going to live it almost like a month or 2 months at least before your mains. That will be your life. I mean, you'll be so much in the rhythm of that preparation that after the mains exam, immediately won't be able to enjoy. For another 2 3 days, you'll keep reading because the body has warmed up so much that you cannot suddenly like close the books and start having fun. That's the condition. You slowly and steadily get down. So from like that aggressive preparation after the mains, also you keep reading, keep revising. After a 4 5 days or a week or so, you start cooling off and then you start chilling. And you all need to taste that. You all need to um, like uh, get a flavor of the mains exam. because I believe all of you deserve to do that, and I also believe that all of you should get that opportunity to have that flavor of mains exam, and that is something which is going to push you a notch above what you are performing. That is something which is going to bring in the insight that how much human potential you possess. It's like it can actually tell you the limits of your stretch, how far you can stretch. Okay, so that's what, live it, just live it. So I remember on Tuesday I was wondering, oh God, how will I pull it till Friday? I'm feeling so sleepy today only because lack of sleep. I was like, oh my God, I have to live like this for another, like 4 5 days. But yeah, I mean, God helped me. In 3 weeks, I could pull through the two batches. It did come as a challenge, but I think I have been able to do that. So I'll be like more alert in terms of this, that what I'm writing, I'm speaking that, and this alertness and awareness needs to be exercised every moment. So I'll take care of it. Thank you for hyphenating that. Now, so code of ethics can be followed by establishing. Uh, yes, yes, yes. Now, with respect to this, when we are talking about this dimension pertaining to this segment of code of ethics and code of conduct, let us reflect furthermore. So when we are talking about the values are what, the specific like we can say those values which needs to be upheld for civil services. Then we have specific principles. Principles are also guiding the possibility of what ought to be done, right? And finally the code of conduct, that is the specific behavior, if we reflect upon it. So if we are considering justice over here on the screen, as you can see, if justice is the value, then like the principle of justice is something which is encouraging, rather sorry, the value of justice is something which is encouraging the principle of equal treatment in equal circumstances. Then you can see the code of conduct, that is having separate queue for senior citizens, okay, or you can consider for disabled, for elderly women, women in general, okay, something like that. Similarly, integrity is the value. The principle is like prioritizing the public interest, and COC, that is code of conduct, is associated with not taking gifts or bribes, right? So I hope that's quite understandable. So in this you can understand that the code of conduct is relatively generic, right? Code of ethics, when we are talking about it, is the core ethical value that you are possessing, okay? So and we can consider that that is something which is helping the professionals to design their action, how they are going to behave, okay? So that is something you can always draw this diagram and explain it in the exam, and I'm quite confident you will get good marks, because there is clarity in this diagram and something which will bring in the insight. All right, so yeah, that's what. Again, as we are understanding code of ethics and code of conduct, so please remember to explain what is given on the board. Try to explain. You can bring in your own examples. You can come up with any example associated with any value, civil services value that needs to be upheld. Think of the principle that is associated, and then you can move ahead. Okay, so you can further substantiate this given subsegment. So you can just discuss that the mission and the values of an organization when we are talking about this dimension. So under this, what you can do is you can probably discuss very briefly. I should write down this. So you can just write down that code of conduct is generic, while code of ethics is uh, guiding principles, comma, core ethical values, core ethical values which help the professionals, which help the professionals um, to carry forward their conduct their conduct ethically their conduct ethically. All right. Again, with respect to this, when we are further reflecting upon the given dimension, we all can connect it with, like, mm, we can say the next subsegment associated with it, that the mission and the values of an organization. So, the mission and values of an organization are associated with associated with ethical principles. Ethical principles. Okay. um we can say ethical principles slash core values. Whereas code of conduct code of conduct determines their final behavior or action. Okay. Again, you can think of, like, let's say code of ethics is associated with maximalist approach towards governance. Maximalist approach towards governance, and it is taking the conscience, or the conscience of the civil servant also in cognizance, right? So maximalist approach towards governance, which incorporates the, we can consider, um, which incorporates conscience the conscience of a civil servant, right? Like, usually we see that in developed countries, in developed states, we use code of ethics rather than code of conduct. What is glorified in like advanced civilizations, in advanced, we can say, countries, is code of, we can say, this code of ethics. Why code of ethics? Because code of ethics is what? It is a guiding principle. It is simply giving you values and principles, how you ought to act. Then it becomes a part of your thought process, that how you finally would be acting, right? So it is the final interpretation, the responsibility, the onus of responsibility of final like interpretation is left. It is left to the like public servant. That means you are trusting the public servant with his or her moral conscience, that the person will be enacting on the basis of some like finer values, will not be compromising with the larger interest of the society. Okay. You are confident about that. That's why you are trusting the civil servant for the final interpretation. You're just giving some code of ethics and you're leaving the interpretation up to the civil servant, right? So that is something which is great, because, like, the information will not be when we are talking about this given possibility, the information is not too specific in nature when we are speaking of this. And when the information is not too specific, then we can see that the civil servant can use the situation as per his or her discretion, and that's something which is be done in the larger interest of the public. So you are actually making the person responsible. You are believing in the leadership skills. You are believing in the person's capability to interpret the given situation. All right. So when we are talking about a civil servant, we can see that the civil servant, like, for example, let's say there is a certain information that is leaked by the civil servant in the, like, press. Okay. And it is, like, caught, and after that information being caught that it was the civil servant who leaked, the person says that I did it in the larger public interest. Okay, so that will not be against the line of code of conduct. The person, whatever the person behaved, was in line with the code of conduct. Why? Because the code of ethics is serving the larger interest of the public, like always being committed to the public. So there is no breach in code of conduct per se. Okay, so like let's say someone like gets a gift, and you reflect whether the public interest is there or not. So if a person is saying that I'm taking small gifts for establishing good relations, you cannot challenge, for because the person is exercising the code of ethics of maintaining good relations with the public. Okay, so establishing good public relations, that's also a code of ethics that needs to be followed, right? So hence please remember, in code of ethics there is subjectivity, and when there is subjectivity, okay, subjectivity, I'm just writing the keyword. So when there is so much of subjectivity in code of ethics, then it is open to interpretation. Okay, so there is open, क्या बोल रही हूँ, लिखना होगा. So when there is subjectivity, then there has to be openness. So open to interpretation. And when it is open to interpretation, okay. So with respect to this given dimension, that there is subjectivity and it should be open to interpretation in this given situation, we all can understand that this openness to interpretation is something which needs responsible leadership. Responsible leadership. That's why we can see that in sophisticated or evolved situations, like in developed countries, there can be code of ethics meant for civil servants rather than like code of conduct, because you are considering your civil servant to be evolved enough. You're considering your civil servant to be like, matured enough and capable enough to interpret the laws accordingly. Okay, so you don't need to give code of conduct in such situations when you believe that voluntarily the officer will behave ethically. Okay, so I'll just write down, in societies that are truly developed, because saying that developed country will generalize it, not every developed country may be so developed. Okay, so in societies that are truly developed, COE, code of ethics, is exercised. Why it is exercised? Because we can see that it is it is considered that the civil servant will be an ethical person. Okay, so code of ethics is exercised as it is. I'm just writing it over here. You can today see beyond me, because I told you today it's Jadoo effect. So you'll see the word like in glimpse, but it will be with greater clarity when you will be able to like get a printout. Okay, so it is exercised, we can consider. So code of ethics is exercised as it is expected for the civil servant to be a person of integrity. Okay, so to be a person of integrity, that's what we can consider. All right, so everyone is so like curious about the magic I have done. I have got magic clothes, so I'm just performing the magic that ways. If I take bribe for a development of poor as an IS officer, does it come under code of ethics? Huh? Why will you take like bribe for development of poor? And who bribes for the development of poor? It is the poor person who comes to the officer that, sir, I deserve to get the, like, let's say the pension. My mother deserves to get the pension. And for facilitating the pension, you don't need to take a bribe. That should be done out of goodwill. That is a part of your duty. So that bribing is unethical. Okay, anything which is not prescribed in code of conduct and which is not in the larger interest of the public, that is unethical. All right. So that's what you can connect with. So, given the marriage is exempted by tax, should a CS not accept that too if someone is using it as a means of bribe? Well, marriage is definitely exempted by the tax, but there, like, the code of ethics will be there, that how far you are going to accept the gifts. In the name of marriage, if you are going to accept BMWs, then that becomes a problem. Okay. What is written in the last line second word? Last line second word is, in societies that are truly developed, code of ethics is exercised as it is expected for a civil servant to be a person of integrity. To be a person of integrity. Don't worry, when you take a printout, you'll find all the words. All that is like there because I'm blocking it. Okay. So, with respect to this, when we are further moving ahead, um, can we say that the code of conduct is manifestation of code of ethics? Of course, that's what we are discussing. So, now, with respect to this given dimension, as all of you are understanding, that code of ethics is summation of the values and principles that you are supposed to follow, and the code of conduct is related to the specific behavior that you are supposed to have. Okay, so you need to understand that you don't need code of conduct if someone is behaving ethically voluntarily. Okay, probably I should add that. Just a second. So, code of conduct won't be needed for those who behave ethically, those who behave ethically voluntarily. Voluntarily. Okay. So, but in India, it doesn't work because majority of the people, we can see there's no harmonization of code of ethics with code of conduct because code of ethics is quite weak. The reason behind, we can consider the reason behind code of ethics being weak is like, the people are like undergoing a phase of transition. The society is undergoing the phase of transition. And with respect to, we can say, like the society undergoing the phase of transition because of globalization, because of massive changes, because of change in the structures of family, because of so much of migration, because of change in the economic behavior, consumerism. So because of that, we need code of conduct, which is specifically determining what should be behaved by an officer at all times and how. Okay, so that's what all of you can connect with, that's what all of you can create. So with respect to this, what is the criticism that we can bring in? Okay, so with respect to criticism, for example, you can see that code of conduct, sorry, code of ethics, first I should write, no, just a second. So code of ethics are very general, abstract, and difficult to enforce, and that is the strength of code of conduct, right? And difficult to enforce. You change this point, it becomes the strength of code of conduct. That code of conduct, because they are like specific, because they are clear and distinct, hence it is easy to enforce, right? Okay, second criticism you can think of is like, code of ethics are subjective, hence different individuals may give different interpretations to it, may give interpretations, different interpretations to it, right? You can consider that also. Whereas, like in code of conduct, there is specificity. You cannot change the code of conduct as per your suitability of the situation. Again, we can see that code of ethics don't provide quick solutions in emergency situation. So don't provide quick solutions in emergency situations. Again, you can see they neglect social, cultural, and political context, right? So that's also something that you can consider. So because and when we are talking about the code of conduct, that will be considering all these dimensions, right? Right, for example, like let's say in United Kingdom, you can see there is talk of equality, that a civil servant should behave equally with everyone. But can it be possible in principle with respect to a country like India? No. Why? Because India still is not a completely equal society. People still do not practice equality in every walk of life. Why? Because there is impact of religious discrimination, caste-based discrimination, gender discrimination, racial discrimination, regional discrimination, so many forms. So a civil servant, to behave equally, the person needs clarity in form of code of conduct, that what is to be followed and what is being breached, right? So when we are speaking of this given dimension, we need to have clarity. Like, for example, secularism. In France, there is a different interpretation to the idea of secularism, and the interpretation in India related to secularism is quite different. So, what to follow? If you are saying code of ethics, that is secularism. Code of conduct will bring in clarity how Indian version of secularism in practice, in behavior, is distinct from that of France. That's how you get to understand, that's how you get to bring in the clarity. So code of conduct, when I said over here that it is associated with, over here you can see that code of conduct is like codified established values and principles. It is specific behavior that is prevailing and must prevail in different professions. They act as a bridge between the conscience of an employee and the laws of an organization. This code of conduct that I discussed. So it is providing specificity in human behavior, an individual, what an individual ought to follow and ought not to follow. So the issue with code of conduct is that it is too specific. It just determines that this is what you need to do. Okay. So because of too much of specificity, there is no scope of multiple interpretations. Okay. So when we are discussing about this, that because of too much of specificity, when there is lack of interpretation, sometimes that can also open the lacuna for unethical behavior. Okay, means too much of specificity, how it can open the we can say lacuna, or we can say the hole for, or the we can say gap for bringing in unethical behavior. I can give you the example of Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, all of you know that the Kauravas and Pandavas, they went for a game of dice, right? So when they went for a game of dice, Bhishma could sense that these Kauravas are up to some mischief. They are going to do something which will be unethical, or something that is going to be wrong. So, because he sensed that something is going to be wrong intuitively, before the game started, Bhishma put some conditions. Okay, so those conditions are like what? Those conditions are like code of conduct. So he established rules, clarity in terms of what ought to be done. So the code of conduct that he brought in the game was, he said that no royal woman would be allowed, like we can say, in the court while the game is being played. And second code of conduct, he said that no one will be physically forced to continue to play in the game. That's it. Now the question is, because of this code of conduct, we raise a question: was it followed truly? No, it was not followed. Why? Because the intention was to deter any kind of negative behavior, but that intention failed. Why? Because of the specificity. Now the Kauravas, especially the Kauravas, like we can say maternal uncle, he played the game. He played the mental game, because he coerced the Pandavas mentally, emotionally. He coerced them into the game to not quit, come what may, to not quit. Okay. So despite the two rules, the Kauravas kept like conducting, we can say, different types of we can say in the name of victory, they kept like punishing the Pandavas, or they kept imposing a lot of negative rules associated with the same. So we could see that The Pandavas, they could not quit, to the point that they also ended up pledging their own wife. And when Draupadi was pledged, okay, and like as a, we can say, in the court, and for enslavement, that because wife was also considered as a property, as a matter of ownership in ancient times. So when Draupadi was pledged, then what exactly happened in that situation? So you all can see that when Draupadi was pledged, in that situation, when the Pandavas lost her, then she became a slave woman. She was enslaved. So what happened was that Duryodhan, he asked his younger brother Dushasan to drag the slave woman to the court. Okay. And when she was dragged to the court, when as the narrative goes, when she was dragged to the court, why was it permissible? For the simple reason, she was no more a royal woman. She became a slave woman because she was lost in the game of dice. Okay. How ethical was it? I mean, I'm not getting into that debate because all of you understand. But the issue is how she could be brought in the court for a dishonorable behavior. For the simple reason, she could be dragged to the court for the simple reason that she was enslaved. Okay, so that is something which you can connect. Okay, and were they physically forced? Pandavas? No, they were not physically forced. Rather, they were mentally manipulated to stay in the game. And because of that mental manipulation, all this, like we can say, unethical possibility unfolded in reality. It unfolded on ground, right? So Bhishma, despite having code of conduct, he could not control the situation. So code of conduct, yes, it is essential, but code of conduct may bring a lot of rigidities, a lot of specificity, which may also create loopholes, because too much of rigidity and specificity opens the loopholes for corrupt behavior. Because a corrupt person will find a way around the code of conduct, that okay, I'm following the code of conduct, I'm not doing this, this, and this, but the person will incorporate few other segments for which there will be no specificity or no explanation in code of conduct. Okay, so sometimes a person may get trapped in code of conduct. That's what you need to understand. So with respect to this, we can also see that the issue of code of conduct when we are speaking of it. So you can further substantiate, always women suffer, yeah, because of the society being hardcore patriarchal in any situation. Okay, so when we are talking about difference between code of ethics and code of conduct, here probably we can substantiate that we can further continue this dimension, that it is almost impossible, it is almost impossible to predict every possible situation, every possible situation that may arise in future, that may arise in future, right? Again, you can understand the code of conduct are often restrictive, restrictive and highly prescriptive in nature. Highly prescriptive. Prescriptive means it determines what to do. Prescriptive in nature. You can also understand that code of conduct are minimalist, minimalist and are designed, are minimalist and are designed to address a specific behavior, to address a specific behavior. You can also connect it with this, that they are very complex. They are very complex with many subclauses, with many subclauses and exceptions. You can also connect with this given dimension, that use of legal language makes them difficult to understand, difficult to understand. And also you can connect that at different levels there can be different codes. So at different levels means different positions, different, like positions that you held. So at different levels there can be different codes of conduct. Okay. So code of ethics, it is like a set of values that can be useful for every level. Code of conduct, it is at different levels there can be different code of conduct. So that is something which you can consider. So code of ethics, like Nolan committee, laying down the values for civil servants. So that is valid for UK as well as India. So code of ethics generally don't change. But when we are talking about code of conduct, that can be a problematic issue. That is something which all of us can consider. So that's very interesting, Shanavaz. Then what is the source of civil services value? Why not we have only one source, that is code of ethics? Because that will be, like too ambiguous to interpretation. If there are corrupt officers in the system, they will end up manipulating the code of ethics, and in, like meandering with interpretation. One guy will interpret it in a different way compared to the other officer. All right. So it is very important for all of us to have a codified, unified approach regarding specific situations, what ought to be done, what ought not to be done. uh, both code of ethics and code of conduct are compromised. Well, in Jyoti Maurya's case, it is associated with her personal life. Please understand, it was associated with her personal life. Her code of ethics, as per inspiring the society as a friend, philosopher, and guide, went missing. Okay. In service, if we are talking about it, that did she go unethical in the service? No. But did she go unethical in larger public interest? Yes. Getting it? That's how you're supposed to reflect. So guide of principle designed to help professionals and business honestly and with integrity. Okay. So when an MP in Lok Sabha like said Shurpnakha is to a woman MP, is it not breach of ethical conduct? Well, Snehlata, when we can say unhealthy remarks are passed, yes, it is a part of breach of code of conduct, because there is a specific, we can say, a way in which you can address the other members. All right. Now, with respect to this given segment, when we are discussing about it, we can also like go ahead with certain other sub segments pertaining to this given area. So last line not understood. Use of legal language makes them difficult to understand, because there is legal language to code of conduct. So you are going to follow the interpretation of that legal language. So whatever is interpreted from that legal language is what you are supposed to follow, right? And we can understand that code of conduct, it will bring in specificity because of sticking to the law, like not because of the openness of interpretation. You cannot go too vague or too random in terms of interpreting a law per se, right? So one woman done this as, okay, if it trying, okay. Yes, that's what, Snehalata. Now, I think all of you are too traumatized by Jyoti Maurya's case. It's just that it got publicized, because of which it had a massive repercussion in society, especially tier 2 towns where girls were preparing for civil services exam. But when you are reflecting upon Jyoti Maurya's of the society, there are many. And they are not only immediate or existing in present times. Boys and girls who have become Jyoti Maurya's are umpteen, and they have existed for decades. At least I know that they have existed for past 2 decades. Okay. So there are many of them when we speak of it. So can she be removed from her job? No, because the core possibility associated with her job has not been offended. That is associated with her personal life. She can be suspended for making her personal life public, because public interest is hindered, but that's not the basis of removal for job. That's too stark. Hardly ever you will see officers getting removed from job. Okay, so codification will limit it to, yes, codification will have a tendency to limit it. Is there any legal punishment for breaching code of conduct? Yes, definitely, Akula. Whenever there a code of conduct is breached, there is a legal punishment. All right, and apply legal obligations, restrictions. Yes, there will be legal obligations and restrictions related to code of conduct. All right. There are corruption charges against her as well. Huh? She can be, if corruption charge is different, she can be put under trial because of corruption charge. That's different. That's different from her personal life decision. You cannot mix it. 6 lakh monthly bribe case is on her. Fairly possible. Fairly possible. Many officers after getting selected are not so inspiring. You'll realize that the system, they say, corrupts them. It's not the system. It is lack of profound establishment of civil services values, and before that, family values. If the family makes you a person who's hardcore honest and a person of integrity, the person will never mess up. It will also get connected to the service values, and the person will be highly upright. So the mixture starts happening from family and society. If in a family or in a society in which an individual is raised, there is acceptance and tolerance towards bribery, towards corruption, then only the individual has a weak moral compass. Okay, when the person is having a weak moral compass, when the seniors are taking bribe, or there is pressing situation that, oh, you take the bribe and be a part of the coterie, be a part of the system, a person having weak moral conscience will fall in that honey trap. That's what happens. Okay, so now over here, when I'm discussing about it, the favorite question which is there, like code of ethics and code of conduct, what is the difference, which we are like first discussing separately. Now I'll make a chart, and that will make sense to you, because the details have been discussed. Okay, so if I make a chart, just a second. So utility, significance, importance of code of conduct, I've already like, अच्छा code of ethics का किया था, conduct का नहीं किया था, ठीक है. So over here, if I'm talking about, like, let's say code of ethics, and I'm talking about code of conduct and differentiating now keywords, and I hope you can play with it like all along. So first we can say it is subjective, right? And this is what? Objective. Another keyword, if I would be discussing, this is descriptive. You can go ahead with your own interpretation. And this is prescriptive. It is clear and distinct. You cannot go ahead for multiple interpretations, and you have to just obey, oblige the rule. So prescriptive. It is associated with values, principles, and code of conduct is associated with specific behavior. Again, we can think of a code of ethics associated with difficult to enforce because it is vague. So difficult to enforce. And code of conduct is easy to enforce. You can easily punish a person for not following the code of conduct. Again, we can say that it doesn't take, in code of ethics, it doesn't take cultural considerations. As I gave you the example of secularism. So secularism, the term secularism, code of ethics, code of conduct will say that how Indian secularism is different in action compared to French secularism. So code of ethics, it doesn't take cultural considerations into regard. They are general, they are common. And code of conduct, they do take, okay, so they do take cultural considerations into regard. Now, with respect to this, you can also see code of ethics, they are stable, relatively old, And code of conduct, they need regular updation, because with the change in the society, the laws also need to change. So need regular, क्या लिख दिया, so they need regular updation. Similarly, you can connect that code of conduct, sorry, code of ethics, it is minimalist in nature, and code of conduct, it is maximalist, right? So with respect to this, I hope all of you are able to understand the difference between the two, right? So this is based on ethical universalism, and we can consider this is based on ethical relativism. I can also say this is um, associated with some internal locus of control also, because values and ethics, they are also internalized. So internal locus of control is involved. Here we can say external locus of control is more profound, is more profound. You are following, because of intimidation, right? So that's what. So in India, when we are discussing about code of conduct, we can see it is often quite restrictive, and sometimes it also leads to harassment of even honest civil servants. Okay, how? When I'm discussing about it, you can see the process is quite complicated in terms of how the things ought to be interpreted, and then how code of conduct is being exercised. There is a huge discretion that is given to the politicians as well. So we can see there is a clause in the code of conduct that do not show the behavior which is akin to unbecoming of a civil servant, that I was just sharing with all of you this sentence when you people asked this Jyoti Maurya's case. So like under code of conduct, it is said that do not exercise a behavior which is akin to unbecoming of a civil servant. Now what is akin to unbecoming of a civil servant, okay, is something which like opens the possibility of how the politician is going to take that statement in consideration, akin to unbecoming of a civil servant. So there is a possibility that a behavior, a specific, like, because at all time you cannot be the maryada purushottam, okay, you cannot always be like the ideal person following all the rules regulations at all times. There will be situations when you will be interpreting things as per like the situation demands. In that situation, it will be up to the politician how the politician is treating the given individual. So this fellow Amit Kataria, what happened was that he went when the PM was visiting his district. I had told you about Amit Kataria, that IS officer who is originally from Delhi, and in Delhi he has like huge property, in scenic farms. He has like huge property. His parents they are very well off. His brother is very well off. So this guy, if you have a bungalow at scenic farms, no, it can range anything between 200 to 300 cr. Okay, that's the net worth. And in his house there are swanky cars from Jaguar to BMW to Mercedes. So he's a loaded guy. He doesn't take any kind of salary. I told you that he gives, like, he takes just 1 rupee token salary and donates the rest for tribal development. He is basically into services for the sake of services. Okay, so this guy, what happened was that when the prime minister was visiting, so he to welcome the prime minister, he wore sunglasses. Now in the code of conduct, you are not supposed to behave in any specific manner which is dishonorable or disrespectful to the senior. Now, in West, if some officer is wearing glasses, it is not taken as dishonorable or disrespectful behavior. Okay, if they are going to welcome an ambassador, welcome the president of another country, an officer can be wearing glasses. That's not something which is taken differently. But in India, under the code of conduct, as it is suggested that you have to at all times be honorable towards seniors. Now here, it is open to the politicians to interpret it. How? So in India, it is considered that as a protocol protocol that when you meet a senior, you should not be wearing glasses. It looks too informal. You are supposed to take off the glasses. You're supposed to greet. Later, after greeting, when it is too sunny, you can put on the glasses. It's like that. That's why you see the we can say the private we can say staff with the president behind him, they will be wearing sunglasses, and that too dark ones, so that no one can see the movement of their eye, how they are scanning the area, and how they are keeping a check over who's who. So you can understand that it's not that glasses cannot be worn, but when to wear, that is something under scanner. So when this guy he wore the glasses, what happened was that he was like later when the prime minister left, he was brought to inquiry and he was reprimanded. So why was he reprimanded? Because it was considered that his behavior was unbecoming of a civil servant. Similarly, in Odisha, there was this uh, there was this given officer who like he was a very good dancer during his college days. So what happened was that and very upright, very honest officer. So in one of the public functions that he was attending, and he was the chief guest, so what happened was that people cheered, and the anchor requested that, sir, you have been a great dancer during your college days. So as the cultural program were going on, so as a part of the cultural program, it was requested, sir, can you also show few dance moves? So he climbed the stage and he showed few dance moves. He was later reprimanded. Okay. And reprimanded and suspended for a day or two. That also had happened. So this idea of unbecoming of an IAS officer, okay, when we are discussing about this given dimension, this becomes quite open ended, especially when the politicians enjoy so much of discretion, as I was sharing with all of you. So that's something which we need to understand, that corrupt officers are not getting penalized. They are enjoying so much of discretion, and sometimes honest officers unnecessarily they may undergo the rigor. So it is like the maximum discretion is with the politician in terms of code of conduct, that if the we can say the politician wants action, action ought to be performed. If the politician wants there should be inaction or no action should be taken, so be it. So politicians, they do not encourage, other, we can consider officers, and especially the youth, okay, to exercise healthy behavior, which can be like interested in bringing greater clarity in their action, as well as the, we can say, political clarity in their stance. But that is not something which is really encouraged or entertained. Now, the question is, why should there be code of conduct or code of ethics if that question is there? So, you can understand when we are discussing about this given segment. So, maybe first I can discuss it in this manner. Why should uh, why should there be why should there be a demand or a necessity for code of ethics or code of conduct, any of it? Okay. So, or rather, why have I have already discussed when I'm discussing about its relevance, its importance over here, significance or utilization, utility or significance or importance, why has been addressed. Let me discuss what should be there. That will be better. So, because changing the question will encourage greater levels of analysis. What? So, what should be there? I'll have to change the language a bit. What should be, we can consider practiced, code of ethics or code of conduct. So, see, usually when we speak of it, so usually the bias is in the favor of, it is in the favor of code of conduct. Remember this. Okay. Why? Because in developing countries you need clarity. Okay. So developing countries, sometimes when integrity, or any country where integrity is low, there you need code of conduct for clarity, clarity of purpose and action, purpose and action. But you have to discuss that both suffer from limitations, suffer from limitations. Further, you can discuss that the second ARC, 10th report. See, a question related to second ARC 10th report has already been asked in previous year question. So you can go through it. So second ARC 10th report suggested to make code at three levels. Three levels. Okay. To make code at three levels. So thank you SME for the support. It means a lot, because simultaneously as I'm explaining, I need this kind of support, whereby the, like, as I'm explaining, someone just helps me out with the basic queries so that students don't miss out at any level. So first is integrate code of conduct and code of ethics. That's something which is given, right? Then it is also considered, so, or rather, wait, let me give it in a more concise manner. So at apex level, first I'll discuss the highest level. At apex level, okay, at apex level, there should be a clear, there should be a clear and concise statement of the values and the ethical standards that the civil servant needs to internalize, needs to internalize. So at apex level, this is what needs to be taken care of. Okay. Then at second level, the broad principles which should govern the behavior of a civil servant can be outlined. This is what? This is associated with code of ethics. Okay, so this would constitute the code of ethics, right? And then at third level, there should be specific code of conduct stipulating a precise, stipulating a precise and we can consider unambiguous behavior. So stipulating a precise and unambiguous and unambiguous behavior slash set of actions. Right. Hence, like I have shared, what are the code of conducts, what are the code of ethics, the positives, the negatives, the code of conduct, positives and negatives, what is the solution, what is the problem, and what is there in India and what ought to be there in India. Okay, with all of you. This utility, significance, importance of code of conduct, just relate the points discussed previously, discussed previously related to code of conduct, how they bring specificity, objectivity, clarity, can be rationally explained, can be rationally explained, are enforceable, are enforceable, can be immediately put to action, immediately put to action. Hence, delay in action can be avoided, delay in action or dilemma can be avoided because you are clear what has to be done. Okay, so relate the points discussed previously. You will get an idea related to all these words, which I'm again, like I gave you, like a gist of it, so you can just put that. Okay, so like in code of conduct, there is a clause that a civil servant has to take permission of the government if any officer wants to take up a job in private sector company, which is somehow associated with the government. Okay, so that's there. Suppose so what happens is that your child is like needing a job, okay, in a private company which is related to the government. So you need to inform the government that my child is seeking a job in a specific private company which is dealing with my department, dealing with the government, and then you have to seek permission associated with that. Okay, so in this situation, we can see that the company is not related to the government, but the company is just dealing with the department of this officer. So in this situation, the thing is that how is the individual supposed to take permission from the government when the individual's son or daughter is taking like a job in the private company? Why is it needed? It is needed because you are paying taxes. So you are paying taxes, then you are like associated with the government anyhow. So the individual, though seeking a job in private sector, the person is associated with this we can say PSU, because there is a contractual or transactional deal. So let there be no form of bias or prejudice or favoritism being exercised. So that is something which is brought to scanner, put to check in the eyes of the government by informing the government that here is this company dealing with my department and my son or daughter is getting a job in that company. So you are bringing in transparency. Okay, so you have to establish constantly good relations. If there are good relations, then you will be able to pull through. Again, no minister will also harass you. So you can just like see to it that on an average, that is what needs to be taken care of. Okay, and if the like minister does not like you, if good relations are not there, the person can interpret the situation differently and cannot, like may not allow your child to join. So that's another problem which you can associate with. So apex level and level 2 are similar. uh, okay, thank you, like SME again for simplifying the given dimension. So SP, DSP and constable, the way you have simplified it. Okay, so apex level, you can see it is clear and concise statement of values. Okay, and ethical standards that a civil servant needs to internalize. Okay, second is associated with broader principles. Okay, which is associated with, which is open to interpretation. Okay, which can be outlined, and it is associated with the code of ethics. Okay, so broader principles open for interpretation, part of code of ethics. Third level, code of conduct, more specific. All right, fine. Okay, so let us take a break and let us be back. So it is 7:46 and let us take a break and let's be back related to this and start with a new subtopic, work culture. What is work culture? Also today I aspire to discuss case studies towards the end. I want to show like how like cases can be created, asked, and how you're supposed to respond, so that a final brush up, a final revision is also there. All right, so let us meet again. All right, welcome back. Um, okay, all right. Maximalist, minimalist point, I can sense what all of you are undergoing. Maximalist is what? When the scope of like explanation or interpretation, when we are discussing about it, the scope of interpretation and the scope of we can say the dimension as we are like reflecting upon, that is something associated with this maximalist and minimalist approach. Okay, so as all of you can reflect upon this, the code of conduct, when we are discussing about it, it is associated with specificity. So the code of conduct is not specific, it is open for interpretation. And the code of, like we can say, conduct is specific, it is not associated with openness to interpretation. So we can understand that this component of specificity and non-specificity can be put to action with these given terms. Okay, so that's how this has been like brought to context over here, Manoj. ठीक है, और क्या बोलूं इसके लिए? So that's how you are supposed to put in the component of interpretation or explanation. Now, anyway, you will get a glimpse of it once again. I'll give it as I explain further. Oh God. Okay, now with respect to this, let us see. Importance of ethics, a brief overview I have given. This you can pick and you can discuss with respect to SARC, okay, the Second Administrative Reform Commission. So, this is also associated with the draft of Public Service Bill 2007. So, you can connect with respect to what recommendations it is giving. So over here, with respect to this, we can speak of being answerable to political leader is a part of code of ethics. Yes, you have to respect hierarchy. In the hierarchy, the boss is the politician. Now, so this dimension related to Second Administrative Reform Commission, we all can connect it. And we can connect it with like allegiance to the constitution. So what you are supposed to follow, the ethical principles you need to follow is allegiance to the constitution and law. You need to respect democracy, nationalism, sovereignty, integrity of the country and security of the country. The functions that needs to be followed has to be followed apolitically, means no political bias or non-partisanship should be adhered as a value that is going to lead to good governance. So, impartiality, honesty, equitability, and diligently exercising in a fair and just manner, being objective, these are some things which you need to consider as important ethical, we can say ethics, like code of ethics that needs to be taken care of. Integrity, being courteous, transparent, high standard, quality service, being accountable. Now, these are something associated with values meant for civil services. You can recall that it will help you to fill in the details. Okay, it will help you to substantiate the details. So uphold the highest ethical values, establish merit based employment in terms of employment, promotion, placement, no discrimination in the form of like caste, community, religion, gender, protecting the interest of the poor, ensuring that public money, monies over here is written because there are different departments, so different levels of money being deposited, otherwise monies is not a popular expression. So it is like duly taken care of with utmost economy, we are not wasting. That's why economy means when you are very careful to not waste. Okay, with utmost economy and care. Again, provide a workplace that is free from discrimination workplace. You can see it should have value communication, consultation, cooperation, all those segments should be there at workplace. There should be reasonable opportunity for all eligible members to apply for public service employment. So opportunity for like growth, opportunity for seeking any given dimension. Further, when we are moving ahead, you can see utilization of public funds. In terms of utilization of public funds, when we are speaking of it, you can connect it with governments at the center and state and how they are custodian of huge public money. So with respect to this, you can think of utilization of public funds related to how it is being utilized, what are the types of account, what are the measures or ways that should be like really taken care of. So I have discussed the facts of this given dimension, that you have to understand that the government at center and state level has to really take care of a large amount of money. So how the money is utilized, and money is like generated from various resources, this is just like introduction, that it is from various resources like debt, financial assistance, international organizations, profits from public sector units, different ways. So it has to be developed effectively for the growth of the nation. So types of government accounts, we can see consolidated fund of India, contingency fund of India, public account. When we are talking about consolidated fund of India, some basic facts related to like article 266, the all the tax revenues which are there, okay, non-tax revenues. Then regarding contingency fund of India, again I have enlisted facts as I have followed in the past also. Yes, this is also a part of economics, you must be aware of it. Also polity, in polity also you will come across these basic facts, okay. So these basic facts I have just enlisted it. Public account, budget, all this is a part of economy. So I've just enlisted it so that everything is in one place. If the topic is there in the syllabus, you find it in the slides, you find it in the material to go through, even if it is factual. The moment analysis comes, I will be discussing that, okay. So expenditure from budget, basic facts. Then reasons for misuse or underutilization. This is something which will help you to incorporate points in case studies, or maybe some factual question which needs a bit of reflection. So this you can consider important, okay. So most of the funds are released only at the end of financial year, because of which we have very less time to utilize it. Like it's generally released between, like you'll see Jan end, February midst, because one of my friends was talking about this, that we have some funds which is being released by one of the state governments which he was close to. So it's like, is there any scope to utilize it in the education sector? He just needed some advice. So I just gave this is what can be done anyway. So when you have less time to execute, definitely improper utilization or mismanagement of funds can happen. Again, you can see that the funds are not distributed in appropriate expenditure heads, which leads to excess of funds in some areas, and in some areas work will not be completed due to lack of funds. So not distributed in an appropriate expenditure heads means under what subheading, under what sub dimension, what should be given. Internal audit system within the government, we can say, is inadequate, and because of which again misuse is not stopped. Again, corruption is there, which all of us know, and centralized allocation of funds, they are diverted to areas where there is more scope of corruption and misuse, so it is done purposefully. Again, expenditure is given more importance than outcome. Whenever we are discussing about this, we always see that it is not the outcome, it is like expenditure that we focus. Jawaharlal Nehru in his Panchashil towards tribals discusses this point. Jawaharlal Nehru in his principles of Panchashil, he discusses this given sub dimension, and he states this given fact that when we are discussing about the components of Panchashil, we need to reflect, we need to understand, we need to align this basic sub-dimension, that the development of the tribals should not be analyzed only on the basis of money spent, rather the kind of impact observed on the ground, the fifth shield, which I always say that it is not only important from the perspective of tribals, it is more important from the perspective of, we can consider, rather than tribals, it is more important from the perspective of how things are articulating on ground first. We can also see that how it is also important from the perspective of all vulnerable sections when they are analyzed, that how it is impacting their lives in general, okay. Again, implications of underutilization. So what will be the impact, okay, what will be the effect? So poor quality of work, failure to achieve the outcome, slower development, right? There'll be less availability of funds. Can be corruption, there can be loss of public trust, higher rates of taxes, which you can connect with. So how corruption comes to light? How, what are the ways, what are the methods? Okay, so suppose you are finding corruption in your department, you are finding corruption in X situation, you are finding corruption in Y situation. What will be your course of action? So first you will be recalling the code of ethics which guides you. You will be recalling the basic values and principles which motivate you. But after that you will be talking about action. This is the action part. Okay, action with respect to corruption, and you can use this information in different theoretical, or we can say other than theoretical questions, you can use it even in I would say application based questions like case studies. So when we are discussing about it, how corruption comes to light, so complaints from employees or from the public, or departmental inspection, stock verification. So keywords like departmental verification, stock verification, okay, inspections, complaints taken seriously, scrutiny of annual property returns, irregularities if detected, taking action against that. So complaints and allegations which are appearing in the press, so that's something, or social media specific information, again intelligence collected by CBI, local police, okay, other sources like telephone tapping. All these can bring the misappropriation of funds to light. Again, this can also be connected to irregularities causing doubtful conduct. So doubtful conduct, so there will be willful negligence, a person will be reckless in decision making, will blatantly violate the rules and regulations of the system, the procedures of the system. There can be excessive autonomy or discretion exercised by the person, right? You can also see the person will be not be able to be controlled, and the seniors won't be informed. So the senior authorities or superiors, they won't be informed to keep a check or a control over the individual. Then disclosing secret information of government to benefit some individual, so this can be a threat to the department, threat towards national interest. All these can also create a lot of doubtful misconduct. Again, how to go ahead for inquiry for irregularities, I've given you the basic insights associated with it. So we can also see inquiry for irregularities. It is associated with the very proof that some kind of dishonest act has happened. So examination is required. With examination, you collect proof. With the proofs, you can take the case forward in a more formal manner when we discuss about it. So departmental inquiry is required for that. Then I have brought in the insights associated with Santanam Committee. Santanam Committee was created for anti-corruption 1962. I'd mentioned the name of Santanam Committee when I was discussing that the Santanam Committee had also said that we need to amend, we need to, we can say, repeal Article 311. If you remember, I gave you Hota Committee, Santanam Committee, Sehkariya Committee. Remember all that? So Santanam Committee is also associated with this anti-corruption. So this was created in 62, Jawaharlal Nehru. So Santanam Committee actually provided the basis of administrative and legal structures and procedures to combat corruption. Okay, how we can do away with corruption. So prime observations, you can see that corruption cannot be eliminated until and unless preventive measures are not taken properly. And the preventive measures is not only one dimensional, it should be administrative, legal, social, economic, educative. So it's short term as well as long term, clubbed together, kept together. All right. So just a second. Again, you can further see this given dimension that on when we are talking about the recommendations associated with the central government with respect to Central Vigilance Commission, ought to be created. You see, CVC, it started looking into the cases 1964 onwards, okay, specific cases associated with corruption towards government officials when we are discussing about it. So again, there are list of possibilities associated with what has to be created and due to which corruption occurs. I have provided a list of it. It's very factual. You give a quick reading, you understand that. I want to take you to something which is a more formal discussion. So just go through this dimension of what is coercive corruption, what is collusive corruption. Coercive is bribe giver is a victim of extortion. How? So the bribe giver is experiencing coercion. Like, let's say I gave you the example that suppose like there is a old woman and she needs like pension, and you are taking the old woman to the government office for getting the pension. All the paperwork is prim and proper, and yet the person says, give me 1500. You're like, for a pension of 5000, if I give you 1500, this poor lady will be left with 3500. So don't you think that her medicines, her, like, fruits, her other bills can get affected? The person is like, I don't care, everyone is paying 1500, then only the pension is, like, sanctioned. So you choose what you want to do. What is that? That is like coercive corruption, when you are forcing yourself on the other person to conduct corruption. Collusive corruption, when bribe giver and bribe taker are like partners in crime. This can generally happen when you are seeing, for example, when there is a contract, okay, when a contract has to be granted. So rewarding a contract, contract is rewarded by corruption. So the bribe giver and the bribe taker both are a party to it, because both expect to benefit from it. So in this case, like, it is not coercion, it is like they are becoming parties, okay, getting together. So bribe giver is also guilty of like corruption. This is like mandated over here, you can see this. So like Prevention of Corruption Act. And however, the person can get immunity if the person like deposes against the bribe taker or gives the information to the government within 7 days. So in case of any coercion upon the person, if the person gives this proof, then the person will not be held guilty. Otherwise, the bribe giver is also held guilty. So burden of proof under Prevention of Corruption Act, if the person is able to prove it, if the after complaining, then in that situation the bribe giver is free from the Corruption Act. It is the taker who will be penalized. Again, if there is disproportionate property, then also the government official will have to like have some burden of proof to explain how come there is more property than what is declared. Again, if there is an accused person who is taking money, okay, then in that situation the court shall presume that it is the bribe, like, unless the accused proves that it is not a bribe. So if suppose money is involved and someone is giving you that money, suppose after your selection someone is saying that, sir, please come and give a talk, and for the sake of talk someone is giving you money, some transaction takes place, and suppose it is disproportionate, and the government says, how come you got this money in your account? And suppose you are saying that it is because of providing services pertaining to empowerment of students, and this is a payment check, and that's it's a legal transaction, and this is the like proof on the mail that this amount was to be paid associated with this services, then it will not quantify as a bribe. But suppose if you are unable to prove from where the money has come and what is the purpose, and there is no legal proof as to what, like, action you had performed against which the payment has been made, then definitely action can be taken against you. So there is administrative structure of corruption, which I have discussed with respect to CVC. So CVC, like with respect to it, how changes are there? What is constituting CVC? Some basic facts I have given you. After CVC, I have given you appointment of CVC, basic facts again, so that you have an overview related to all the pieces of information. The functions of CVC, I'm not reading it because it is just factual. I hope all of you understand that. Okay, it is done in governance. I was expecting that to be there. Thank you, Mrityunjay, for this piece of information. Okay, so when it is discussed in governance, probably I can move faster. So we can see this given question that has been raised: whistleblower, who reports corruption and illegal activities, wrongdoings, and misconduct to the concerned authorities runs the risk of being exposed to grave danger, physical harm, victimization by the vested interests, accused persons, and his team. Now, this is fact. First, the statement is giving a fact. Then comes the question. This is the question. This is one of the standard protocols of raising the question. So, you can say, what policy measures would you suggest to strengthen the protection mechanism to safeguard the whistleblower? So, what policy measures will you suggest to strengthen the protection mechanism to safeguard the whistleblower? You can see this, right? So you can just reflect upon like all the facts that needs to be consolidated here with respect to the whistleblowers that are existing and that ought to be there towards the end as a suggestion. Okay, so what policy measures would you suggest? So giving an introduction to what exists, and then the main body related to what all needs to be done, and towards the end what would be the probable impact of it. Okay, so approach, facts. Okay, facts, or what rules, regulations, provisions exist. Okay, then after this you are supposed to discuss suggestions to strengthen or improve. Then towards the end, so this becomes the intro, this becomes the body, and then probable outcome, probable outcome or impact of the suggestions. That's how you're supposed to break open the question. All right. Learn how to approach a question. When you know how to approach a question, you are capable to substantiate the content sufficiently. Okay. Now comes work culture. This is not something that is taught in governance. So here you need a detailed understanding of it. Work culture. Do you understand what is culture, people? What is culture? Yeah. So culture, no crammed information that you have memorized. What is culture? So, yes, you can give examples of whistleblower also towards the beginning in the introduction, not more than that. So, culture is set of norms, tradition, way of behaving, all right, lifestyle, beliefs, traditions, okay, um, all right, working environment, practice, culture of lifestyle, attitude, okay, all right, all right. So, what you all are talking is correct, that it is values, norms, tradition, ethics, everything playing together in any given society, consolidated together, is called culture. Agreed. What all of you are saying. Also, if you connect it with the chapter of art and culture, it can be associated with two aspects: manifest culture and latent culture, or material culture or non material culture. Material culture is the manifest culture which can be seen, touched, observed, like food, clothing, books, right? Buildings, coins, stone, sculpting, or we can say metal work, all that stuff, things which you can touch. And non-material culture, which is also called latent, it is associated with your language, it can be associated with your ideologies, it can be beliefs, it can be associated with your we can say song, dance, drama, it can be associated with oral tradition, folklores, all of it is a part of non-material culture, or we can say latent culture. So now you're understanding what is culture. Now here the topic that is given in the syllabus is work culture. So what will be work culture? So work culture will be associated with, we can say, those ethics, norms, values, traditions which are prevailing in an organization, because work culture, so that are prevailing in an organization, which determines the nature of behavior existing between people. Okay, we can consider interpersonal relation also, and along with interpersonal relation, interorganizational and intra-organizational relation. Intra-organizational means within the organization how people are behaving, and inter-organizational level means how the organization is behaving with other organizations. At all levels we can study the behavior through the component of work culture that's given over here. So work culture, when we are discussing about it, it is associated with how individuals or people tend to behave, how individuals or people tend to be together. So with respect to this, we all can see over here I've given work culture deals with study of beliefs, thought processes and attitudes of the employee. It is the work culture of an organization. It decides that how the employees interact with each other, that is interpersonal relation, and how much they will follow the rules and procedures of the organization. It also determines the ambience in the company and how people will be walking, like talking to each other. Each other is intrapersonal, okay, intra organizational, and with other stakeholders like vendors, society, citizens. So this is inter organizational, or it is outside, okay, at external level. So by having good work culture, what can we see? That it can help you to achieve your goals or improve your profits. It is something which we can see that the attrition rate, okay, reduce, as the employees, they don't switch over jobs, they stick to the jobs, they feel secure in their work environment, and they continue to contribute, because you also need to train people, no, for working. So here when we are speaking of it, different types of work culture can be there in different societies. Like we can consider in India, the work culture is based on hierarchy, big time hierarchy, whereas in Japan it is based on punctuality. People are workaholic. On weekends you can see that people are like collapsing on the streets because of, like, overwork. So just taking a support of a, we can say, pillar, or taking support of the wall and sleeping on the road itself. They are so tired. So you can see that given possibility that fatigue catches up due to work, being workaholic. Whereas when we are speaking of, like, let's say, the component of work culture here in India, we'll see that people will be laid back. They have a tendency to procrastinate. Okay, the people will have a tendency to come late to the office if the punching machine and that possibility is not there, related to, we can say, the authenticity of individuals being there. So work culture in an organization, it depends on multiple factors, various types of factors. So we can see that first and foremost, the society plays a very important role, because it is the society which generates standard values, thought processes of the individual. It shapes the possibility how individuals think and process what's happening in and around them, right? Again, we can think that when we are discussing about it, the component of work culture is also associated with the hierarchy of the society. If the hierarchy of the society is as such that caste, gender, religion, all that is respected and followed, it will impact even the work culture inside the organization. Suppose if there's a severe or tremendous form of patriarchy, fair chance that there is a female boss and people joke behind her back, pass like sexist comments behind the back, or may not necessarily be appreciative of her strong moves or clear moves. They might call her too bossy per se. Okay, so work culture does get impact with the culture of the society by and large. Okay, so that's something which you need to consider when we are talking about how the society impacts the work culture. Similarly, the second dimension which you can consider, for example, swimming pool in company. Oh, that's like later. That's later when we are talking about how to improve it in suggestion. Okay, so probably this is salient features of healthy work culture. Anyway, first I'm discussing how like work culture comes into existence. So we can say factors influencing work culture. Factors influencing work culture to begin with. Okay, so in this, first I said the society. Okay, society, its values, traditions and practices, that also subtly impacts the work culture, right? So the possibility of discrimination is what I gave as an example for all of you. So examples you can think of discrimination. Again, when we are discussing about it, you can connect it with code of conduct, and under code of conduct you can connect it with protocol. The protocol which is in the form of relationships. So protocol in formal relationships, right? So suppose you are an IS officer, so it's a protocol, never ever take dowry. If you're caught hold of taking dowry, action can be taken. Not only it's illegal, but also you are setting a wrong example for the society. So at any point of time, you're not supposed to indulge in any behavior which is associated with being an incorrect role model or not an inspiring one. So we can consider, when we are talking about it, work culture is a sum total of like collective values, ethics, traditions, behaviors, interaction, ideologies, principles, attitudes that are prevailing in an organization. And that is a byproduct of multiple factors. Factors associated with the history of the organization, the product, the economy, the technology, right? Types of employees, management style, the society, the nation's culture, all of it is going to impact, right? Again, we can see that the attitude of the employee, attitude of the employee, it can also impact the work culture, right? So like suppose whether it is democratic or authoritarian, democratic versus authoritarian. So in democratic approach, the person will have a tendency to respect your opinions, give you a fair chance, right? A capability to participate. Whereas in authoritarian, there will be a tendency to coerce, right? Now you have to choose in what situation how to behave. Suppose there is, like a junior who's very lazy, and you are being democratic. Okay, you submit this, you are respecting the person, and the person is lazy, the person is having a short term approach to work. In that situation, rather than democratic, you will need to go authoritarian. So as per the suitability of the situation, you have to exercise the factor. Please be very open to it. Again, we can talk about technology. What kind of technology is available at the workplace? If the technology is good, there will be better communication, and if there is no technology, the tendency will become hierarchical, because whoever will be exercising greater skills will have a tendency to say, I am better or superior, so I need better salary. Whereas technology can create competency for all, and whoever is having better competency can be paid accordingly. It also speeds up work. Okay, so technology. You can also talk about nature of economy. Nature of economy. So suppose, like let us consider, if it is a socialist economy, then equality, equal distribution of resources will be respected. If it is a capitalist economy, then competition will be respected. So like for example, let me give capitalist economy, competition gets weightage. Whereas like let's say socialist economy, in this situation we can say equality and distribution of justice. So equality, equal distribution of resources, justice, all that can be brought over here. All right. So what kind of work culture do we need? A strong work culture or a weak work culture, people? I've given you some salient features of a healthy work culture. People should voluntarily comply to the rules. They should not resist the given possibility. So they should themselves follow the rules and regulations. There should be mutual respect of all individuals towards each other, not a sense of superiority, inferiority, exploitation. There should be, like, increased productivity, an environment which is encouraging productivity. Okay, everyone is able to achieve their own goals, everyone is able to, like, create better possibilities for each other. Again, objectivity in performance assessment, so that favoritism is not exercised. On the basis of your merits you are rewarded, your promotion, your transfer posting, everything is on the basis of merit. So people, everyone will healthily compete to be a part of the system. Okay, bad performance can be put under check, and people who are into any kind of corrupt or inefficient behavior, you can contain them. Again, you can think it from the perspective of appropriate reward and punishment. So this is something which can be also helpful for a healthy work culture when we are discussing about it, because that incentivizes work. Again, participation and discussion, it creates a democratic approach whereby everyone is expressing their free will, everyone is feeling that there is space for their opinions to be realized, there is space for their insights to be considered. So organizations, we can see, they are horizontal in nature, they are, we can say, the communication is two way, and then it is strengthened because the intrapersonal relationship becomes strong. Okay, so we can connect it with this given dimension, that you can really avoid any kind of relationship pitfalls at official level, at formal level, by just participation and discussion, because it opens new vistas of discussion. Transparency, this will also increase responsibility and like organizational ethos, achievements being like shared with the larger public, right? So that can be taken care of. Employee friendly, because the employers should treat the employees with self respect, with dignity. That's something which my grandpa also used to say, that in any given position, wherever you go and whatever you become, see to it that the lower staff is respected over and above majority of the people, because they will be the ground level people who will be fixing things for you. So be courteous to them. I mean, if you're gifting people, see to it that you're not creating a hierarchy of gifts. The way you're gifting expensive gifts to others, see to it that the same expensive gift is given to the staff, moreover something more which adds quality to their life, because they will regard it in the long run. These small gestures go a long way. Okay, so and that is something by which you treat them like a family, you create an emotion or a gesture like a family. Okay, so each family is given personal attention and the aptitude that is needed for them, dignity, self respect. Okay, so that is something which creates a sense of transparency in the environment, whereby the employee can at any time reach out to you if there is any corruption going on in the department, or if the employee needs some grievance redressal, the person can fearlessly reach out to you. Okay, that's why employee friendly is essential. Now the question is how to achieve healthy work culture. Okay, so how to achieve healthy work culture, these points can be important for all of you to, like, incorporate like great insights related to your answers. So this is something that is also discussed in relationship management. Yes, in emotional intelligence, in relationship management, I had discussed this given dimension. Okay, so if example, if an officer's wife gets some gift from her father after marriage, and the father is very rich, wants to give a bungalow, does it qualify under dowry? Let the property be in the daughter's name. Okay, if the father wants to give a gift and the father is loaded, he should give property, share in property, and share in property goes in the daughter's name. There are ways how to formalize. Why to give dowry, or why to give gifts unnecessarily? If she is getting a bungalow or something like that, that's share in property, right? And that's not illegal, that's not illegal. So can we write examples as suggested? Yes, you can write examples. So now, in this given dimension, no, Stri Dhan is different. Traditional explanation to Stri Dhan was related to movable property, that was jewelry, and immovable property was going to son. All these traditional explanations are done away with. Now, a daughter gets a fair share in movable, immovable property, both. Okay, equal share. So that's different. it's hard to distinguish between gifts and dowry. True, that's so true. To a certain extent, that problem can emerge. Now, so when we are talking about creating a healthy work culture, how can we fix it? So you can see there are some keywords I have written, like social, emotional, this diagram which is there. So social, emotional well-being by fostering good relations, like you can see promoting healthy lifestyle, physical well-being. So here you can, like with respect to this one, you can think of, like suppose you are creating a gym or you are creating a swimming pool in the office. Okay, swimming pool in the office. Here you are encouraging pool lunches. Okay, pool lunches, or you are like taking people out for regular parties, or you are creating financial pods. Financial pods, pods are like the way women run kitty party, so everyone is pooling some money, and in the month end or weekend they are just chilling having party, so like that. So social and emotional well-being when we are discussing about it. Similarly, when you are talking about mental well-being, you can talk about counselors for stress. So counselors, in informal language it is called shrinks, but not like correct over here. So like physical mental well-being, so physical and mental I can connect it with yoga, meditation sessions, you can organize that, meditation sessions. In supportive workplace we can discuss about creating mentorship. Okay, mentorship. You can also creating flexibility to work from home, so flexible work hours, work from home, work from home, right? You can also create quality work life balance, that's also there, which you can just see over here. You can think of like gender sensitization in this, gender sensitization. In social and emotional well-being, social well-being you can talk about like encouraging conversation, encouraging informal relationships. For example, we can think of employees trip. Okay, so employee trips. This so-called physical well-being can also be by arranging lunch, healthy free meals, healthy free meals. So supportive workplace, healthy workplace, it can be associated with, like having official pets or having an office pet or something like that. You can also create something like we can say like transformational leadership when we are talking about mentorship. So transformational leadership, which is associated with role models. So transformational leadership. Here there can be like the person is acting as a role model, the person is also making individual consideration. So individual consideration, like APJ Abdul Kalam sir, if you remember, he supported his junior who was working on a project. So one day he said that, sir, I need to go for my child's cultural program, I am not attending any program, and the child is not happy, the teachers were complaining. So he allows, okay, go after the second half. But after lunch he comes and he sees that the person is engrossed in some research work. So he kept waiting for half an hour. He saw that he is completely immersed. He has forgotten about going, and it might be an important research or some breakthrough that he might achieve. So he just left him to the work. He went and attended the child's like cultural program, Dr. Kalam. And later on, when the guy he was through with the official work, and he realized he had to go, he was full of remorse. He came running to, like that place, and then he saw that his boss is standing there. So that's like individual considerations that you go for. You can also make intellectual stimulation. So intellectual stimulation, there can be a democratic management system. So democratic management style. With respect to this physical well-being, you can also think of aesthetics, changing the aesthetics, like, or in general also improving the aesthetics at workplace. Suppose if there was a recliner here in this office, or a sleeping pod, then in that situation, after the class, between sessions, two sessions, like, my next session is around like 1 o'clock. So I have some time. So I'll be sitting, I'll be working on things. And so if there was a sleeping pod, or if there was a recliner, I could have slept lying on it. At least it was hygienic, clean. So, like that, improving the aesthetics. You can have like clean toilets, which is there definitely. So having like clean toilets in many government offices, you will see there is no clean toilet. So that is another problem for many women who work. You can think of different such supports, which is like making the place big, huge, clean. And a lot of offices, like you can see Apple, Microsoft, Google, KPMG, they are creating such swanky offices with so many facilities that the employee doesn't feel like going home, is more comfortable in the office than at home. There are days when a person can be like, informally dressed up, and come up like in shorts, in like night pajamas, because the focus is work. So that's what is like taken care of when we are discussing about it. So proper incentives you can talk about. Okay, so proper incentives. Yes, there can be tea breaks. Okay, yes, there can be menstrual leaves, maternal leaves, crashes, wellness centers. Well, crashes is an important legal aspect. Okay, so you can find that there are like legally it is mandatory to have crashes in an office. So yeah, you cannot consider that. So that's also something which you can talk about. Because of toilet and all, we don't have much female lawyers. Even till date, we don't have a female CGI. Where ILMA not having a female CGI does not depend on toilet importantly. Okay, we can consider that yes, at workplaces there is like a lack of having toilets. Crashes, it is, many people call it crèche, Abhijit. You might have heard the word crèche. It's not crèche, it creche. Creche is associated with those places where babies are kept. So young toddlers, babies, they are kept, they are taken care of, whereby the mother like is like working in the office. All right, so I hope all of you are thinking about all these points. You are able to understand and connect. You can also talk about having good usage of technology. So usage of technology to establish cross sectional conversation, or cross sectional communication, right? So that's something which all of us can connect. Can we have some indoor games? Yes, yes, indoor games can also be there, Prakhar. That's also there when we are discussing about it. So that's something which you can connect with and you can consolidate with respect to essentials for a healthy work culture. Okay, so if you get something like this, you can consider all these subsegments. Again, suppose if there is a question, steps taken by the government to improve upon work culture, what will you be substantiating? Now, before I explain this, I'm like reminded of a fact which was shared by the tech team, that I don't know, some form has been mailed to all of you. Okay, and you just need to honestly fill that form, whatever it is. Okay, and I'm forgetting what is it, some form. Okay, feedback form, yeah. So some feedback form has been mailed to all of you at 7 a.m. So just look into it, and when you have time, please do fill it, because it helps us to improve upon the wholesome aesthetics, the wholesome content, the wholesome approach. And that's something which motivates us all, because motivation is the prime purpose of work. As Karl Marx says, that work is not done for money or salary, for salary or for monetary gratification. The prime purpose of work is creative satisfaction. So any person cannot survive in a work until and unless there is creative satisfaction per se. Okay, so that's very essential for all of us to have that sense of creative satisfaction. And creative satisfaction comes when we are constantly doing some introspection, the same thing, darshan dhyana karma, observing what is there, what more can be done, then introspecting what more can be created, what more possibilities are there, and then putting it into action. So probably that is what you can consider. with respect to this given dimension. All right. So with respect to this, when we are further moving ahead, my image is on screen. Doubled on screen? No, there is just one image. This is what I can see. The only thing is the image is partially transparent today. It's like more like jadoo. I know that, as it was declared by one of the friends of yours in the class. And I accepted totally. I was like, yes, agreed. I wore a green kurta and there is a green screen. So I'm like, today, blaze on fire. That's also there. A digital twin. Okay, nice. So Jadoo means there is a movie, Akula, a movie which was on Ritik Roshan. It's quite a silly movie, but that's how these kids have watched it in their childhood, and that's how they can connect. That so anyway, getting back to the game. So steps taken by the government to improve upon work culture. Now, with respect to this, when we are discussing about it, how to improve the work culture, let us reflect upon these given subsegments. So first, you can provide incentives. So incentives plus awards. After incentives plus awards, plus we can say civil services day, right? You can also see I discussed about compulsory retirement. Remember compulsory retirement? So those people who are becoming burdensome to the system, requesting them to retire with dignity, right? Remember lateral entry? Lateral entry. So private sector, people from private sector, the CEOs, the presidents invited to join the system, become directors directly without clearing UPSC exam, with 10 years or 20 years of their experience with respect to their like company. So that expertise being used by the government. Again, we can see this associated with maternity leave. So maternity leave has been increased to 26 weeks now. So you can think of that. You can think of the crash facility I was talking about. So crash facility is provided. You can think of a 360-degree feedback mechanism. What is a 360-degree feedback mechanism? I really appreciate this kind of mechanism, whereby suppose if there was a 360-degree feedback mechanism, then the feedback mechanism, suppose let me keep my case, suppose my feedback has to be given. So it's not only the student giving the feedback, it should be the SME also, like giving a feedback that how the person enjoyed working with me, and what was our like pattern of communication. Similarly, how, like let us say the staff who's serving me water or keeping the room clean, how we are interacting, how the, like let's say the guard who opens the door and who is like managing the system when I come at 5:30 in the morning. So how like the pattern of interaction between us is taking place, how the pattern of interaction is between me and the tech team. All of them should get an opportunity to evaluate the person on the whole, to understand how important the person is for the system, like what are the strengths in the person's personality, and probably if there are scopes of weakness, what can be done to fix that, so that better individuals are participating in the system and creating a healthy work culture. Okay, so that's what is a 360-degree feedback mechanism. Again, we can see biometric attendance system. So biometric system for attendance, so that notes at what time who is coming. That can also be connected to the ABCD to road culture, ABCD to ROAD culture. Now I know that all of you must be like curious. A is for avoid, so people who avoid work. B is for bypass work. C is for confuse the people by not doing the work but making the law complex, explanation complex. And like D is delay the work. To road culture, road is what? So R is responsibility, when you take responsibility of what is being done. Like when you take O, that is ownership. A is associated with accountability, and D is associated with discipline, right? So that is something which we can connect with when we are discussing about ABCD to ROAD culture. So you can just think of all these dimensions. So another thing is getting rid of the VIP culture, getting rid of VIP culture. The government did away with the blue beacons, right? So all that you can connect with. So for IS officers, you cannot use the beacons. What is written above? Creche, Creche, Apurva. Okay. That's so sweet, Rahul. Thank you. I mean, like, the emotional gesture is deeply appreciated. Heartfelt thanks. Okay. Rahul's mother has prepared momos for me. Yay. All right. Now, so with respect to this, when we are understanding the steps taken by, like, the government, because why no paternity leave, that should be there, Sachin. But we are not discussing about suggestions. We are discussing about steps taken so far. So when we are talking about steps taken by the government to improve upon work culture, we will be discussing about what has been done, what ought to be done. Yes, we can talk about paternity leave, because the responsibility of raising the child is a wholesome family based responsibility. A mother can become overworked handling the child by herself. When both the parents are raising the child, it also strengthens their mutual relationship, as well as the capability to balance the household chores along with the child's responsibility is maintained. The mother is well slept, she is well nourished, thus the baby also becomes well nourished. All right. So what you're suggesting is profound, I do believe, but it's not associated with suggestions. It's associated with steps that have been taken. Okay. Now, as all of you are asking that, ma'am, with respect to this given subsegment of answer writing, let me show this to all of you. What has been created related to case studies. Okay. So when I'm discussing about case studies, see, there is this specific trend analysis that has been created for all of you when we are discussing about this given subdimension. So case studies, trend analysis, when we reflect upon it, you all can see this with respect to, like, case studies which were asked in 2013, the topics which were important. You can see conscience, honesty. Now you can see the chapters. Responsibility, responsible disobedience, whereby you are disobeying by following the values, larger values, rather than what has to be done, the law as it is subscribing. So ethical but illegal wala segment aa jayega, responsible disobedience, right? Again, there are social issues which really play a vital role in terms of case studies. You can see that I have highlighted that in yellow. So child labor, gender sensitivity, you can see that, right? Again, you will realize civil services values. Remember this, like, a very important segment which I'm discussing. Civil services values is the most important chapter for all of you for case studies. After this, you can prepare topics of social issues, because that also qualifies for case studies. Okay. So you can take that given insight pertaining to it. So you can see this related to case studies, this ethical dilemma. Ethical dilemma, what is ethical dilemma? When you are in confusion whether to exercise the civil services values or not, whether to follow the civil services value or not, that's what it is about. So sexual harassment at workplace, you can see this given dimension. So sexual harassment at workplace, when we are like seeing this is social issues. Ethical conduct, it is associated with the civil services values. I'm just writing CSV now. Okay, civil services values put to test. So you can see this, right? Like Mahatma Gandhi breaking salt law. This example with respect to what, Payal? You must have said something relevant, but I just missed the game. So even if you are posting it, I won't be able to connect right now. Habitual of solving case studies. That the problem is, due to that, I'm unable to give desired focus on section A. Ilma, bit by bit things will happen. Time management will always be a pressing situation associated with this game. Okay, entire civil services preparation. By solving case studies for past 2 weeks, as you are sharing with me, I'm quite sure that you must be gaining a sense of confidence, seeing a case study and capability to decode that which chapter or which sub dimension it has to be connected. And as you are thorough with section A or the theoretical part of the chapters, your capability to solve case studies will also become profound, because you will be able to see the glimpse of different chapters in the same case. You will be able to see where emotional intelligence words or dimensions needs to be incorporated, where dimensions of attitude needs to be incorporated. So sharpness will increase like anything. Okay, you can see this 2015 again, social issues topic, and then ethical conduct, ethical dilemma, values related case study. Again, this trend analysis. So I'm just now flipping. You can see that what I have already declared, civil services values, social issues is ruling the roost in this case. So you can see 2016, 2017, after 2017, 2018. Okay, senior citizen, ethical conduct, alcoholism, industry vis-a-vis environment, means should we go for industrial development or environmental protection? That's what. So again, ethical dilemma, there was a Snowden's action which was being analyzed. 2019, values, priorities, civil services values. Again, we can see sexual harassment, politicization of bureaucracy, right? Narcotics case, ethics management, all these segments which were in news were brought in the case study. Okay, that's why I said that once in a while, if you see the issues which are brought up in Indian Express related to ethics, it's very good for updating the content. So please go through that as well. So this case study of 2020, when we are discussing about it, you can see again social clubbed with the concerns pertaining to civil services values. So ethical dilemma or developmental dilemma can be connected with it. 2021 tribal issues, illegal sand mining, I had discussed that with you. Professional ethics, ethical dilemma, health and resource management, ethical dilemma related to food industry, workplace harassment. So you can see that a lot of chapters making a combined glimpse in this given area. So, case studies themes. What are the popular themes on the basis of which case studies are asked? I have consolidated that for all of you, as all of you can see this. So, the subtopics which all of you can see is related to this given dimension. So, other than ethical dilemmas, because this is the one which is ruling the roost, these are the other areas from where questions can be raised, or you can be alert about these topics when you're reading the newspaper. If issues pertaining to it is in news, okay, how you are going to deal with the situation, how you are going to like design your action, articulate your action. Yes, Sunil was the case of sand mining. Yes, again further I'm giving you a discussion of 2019 question. Okay, how to solve it. So here is this given dimension in Kerala. Remember, in 2019 there were floods. Do you remember 4 years back? Massive floods happened in Kerala. The entire nation came together to support it. Yeah. So because that had happened, this qualified as a question. You can see that's how I said that you need to be aware of what is unfolding before all of you. Now, you can see this. You are heading the rescue operation in an area affected by severe natural calamity, as all of you can see this, right? So, yes, that had happened, and later on we can see Manipur case can be asked, like let's say rather than the, we can say, obscenity of the case, probably something like this can be asked, that like let's say you are heading a district and you come to know that due to ethnic clash between two communities, the a few women have been held and are victimized. Certain obscene videos have been made and they are like let's say they have been molested or abused. So the case has just been reported to you. Okay, so what will be the course of action taken by you? Justify the steps taken by you on the basis of, we can say, a code of conduct or code of ethics. So something like that can be created. So in that you will have to remember what steps you would be taking first, how, why, you have to justify. So steps to be taken, so which step you are prioritizing, okay, how you are prioritizing, how you are going ahead with the given situation, that is how you are supposed to reflect upon it, right? So now with respect to this, when we are so that's how you connect a situation with potential question. So here you can see the nature of the question and how you need to like respond to it. It's written, you are heading the rescue operation in an area affected by severe natural calamity. This is a fact. thousands of people are rendered homeless and deprived of food, drinking water, other basic amenities. So this is what this is associated with facts of the case. Okay. Rescue work has been disrupted. So facts is, we can consider fact one, thousands of people. It's not hundreds, thousands of people homeless, deprived of food, drinking water, basic amenities. Second is rescue work is disrupted. This is a problem due to heavy rainfall, damage to the supply routes. Okay, so rainfall, damage to supply routes. Now the local people are seething with anger. This is third problem. Because of this delayed limited rescue operation, people are very angry, and when your team is reaching in the effective area, the people heckle means, like, pass sarcastic remarks, make fun, okay, and even assault some of the team members. This is the fourth fact, assault. This is challenging, and assault to the point that, like, one of the team members is severely injured. Okay, so this is the fourth fact of the case. Faced with this crisis, some team members plead you to call off the operation. So call off, because assault is there, severely injured. So like they call off, they are, like, they are not motivated. So this is nothing but lack of motivation that has occurred in your team. Your team is losing focus and motivation. Motivation, focus, that is lost. Like they are scared. You can see that they are scared. So here you need leadership skills also. So this is pertaining to leadership skill, what you are going to exercise in such pressing situation. So in such trying circumstances, what will be your response? You can see this. So with respect to this, you can see, examine the qualities of a public servant which will be required to manage the situation. So qualities, what is the qualities? It is related to civil services values influencing your action. That's what it is there. Civil services values influencing the action, right? So in this given situation, see how we, like, go ahead with this given segment, how we interpret the question. Okay, so first and foremost, after seeing the facts of the case, we have to interpret the question. So civil services values action, also I can say qualities required for profound leadership. Profound leadership. So what are the qualities which are needed for profound leadership? Which chapters can be associated? Can we connect emotional intelligence? Can we connect attitude? Can we connect that? That's how you're supposed to connect. Okay, so start asking about this. What kind of code of ethics can inspire us in this situation? Is only code of conduct going to provide us the help? Because code of conduct is too specific. This is unexpected situation. In unexpected situation, rather than code of conduct for senior level, if you can remember, civil services values also said objectivity in complex situation. So it is not possible. So their subjectivity is there, means you are interpreting on the basis of larger values, goals, or code of ethics. You are interpreting on that basis your action, which is in the larger public good. So recall all the chapters, and then put it to action over here. See, so this demonstrates, this is the approach with respect to how we are understanding the question, understanding of the question. This is written over here. As you grow expert in solving case studies or any answer, you develop this mentally. Okay, so understanding the question. So here all of us can see that this case is associated with what? Leadership during crisis. So the situation demands leadership skills to find solutions where there is lack of cooperation from public. People are not cooperating. So you need leadership skills, right? So the supplies are disrupted. You can see that the supplies are disrupted. People are demotivated. So if you are the officer, you are faced with competing priorities. What are the competing priorities? You need to maintain rescue operation. At the same time, you need to manage the anger of the victims. At the same time, you need to keep your team motivated. So these are competing priorities. This is also important. This is also important. If team is not motivated, work can't be done. If work is not done, anger will increase. So all these are interrelated, and they are like distinct priorities, and you need to work towards them together at the same time. That's why competing, when two things are competing, I am first, that is what. Okay, so competing priorities, because you have to take care of both or all the three aspects. Now the problem is that all these three goals are interrelated, and they pose a challenge simultaneously. So without stopping manhandling, the team will not be motivated. Without rescue being effective and visible, anger of victims cannot be managed. Okay. Hence, all three needs to be dealt with simultaneously. Now, please remember one more thing with respect to this. Yes, the like Prakhar, when you are talking about the good communication skills, yes, that's needed. Now, please remember this. The theory that you know, good communication skills associated with ethos, pathos, and logos, as Aristotle has spoken of the tripartite model. So you can bring that also in decision making. You have to first remember this thing, that as like this is a case related to, we can say, the problem associated with this flooding. Now, when we are discussing about this given situation, when we are discussing about how things unfold for all of us, we need to understand the kind of intervention which would be required. Okay. So, when we are talking about this given possibility, first and foremost, you remember, if there is a riot like situation, agar मान लो question was changed and it was written that there has been a riot that has taken place in the district, this is, whenever you get this mob like situation, when you and your people working under you, the departmental staff is at threat, always remember this. Never try to talk to people at large, everyone at the same time, because mudslinging or throwing stones, pelting stones, all that can happen. Never ever indulge by talking with the entire crowd. Always choose the leader in the crowd and speak to the leader, because with the leader you can objectively speak, you can give the logic, you can give the reason, you can counsel the person with the situation, you can talk about the priorities which needs to be taken care of the situation, and the leader can counsel the rest, because people believe in that leader. People have an emotional sentiment related to the leader, people are enthused by the leader. So if the leader communicates, what you want it to be communicated to the larger mob in the first go, then the leader can silence the people, can cool off the people, can cool off the heat, and later on with your decisions, as things start falling in the place, you can directly address the people. But in the first go, whenever things are too heated up, choose the leader, find the leader. It's always better, it's always safer. If you start talking to people, listen, this has happened, that has happened, fair chance someone who's very agitated has lost a child, or maybe the mother's leg is cut or something like that, and no medical help is coming, there's a fair chance the person will pick a brick and just throw in your direction. That take your all wisdom with yourself, and you won't be able to manage the situation. Okay. So you can always objectively and sensitively create an impact on the leader. That's how you are supposed to. Don't try to own everything, do everything by yourself. Know how to outsource responsibility, how to create systematic, we can say, distribution of responsibility. Be a smart leader when it comes to such situations. Okay. If the leader is not ready to talk, there is not always one leader. There are also subsidiary leaders. Identify those people. Say that let these 4 or 5 people in the group come over and represent the interest of the masses. Okay, like that also things are done. Smart approach needs a bit of thinking. All right. So yes, we can think of that also in different other answer. Shanvas, you can use that point now. So it is the hope that administration is in work and can pacify the people. So these are the following qualities needed to manage the situation. First, presence of mind and the ability to find innovative solution to these simultaneous problems. So what qualities are needed in leadership? Presence of mind. Then you need to be a role model who's instilling confidence in the people, who has the tendency to motivate people. Third, your teammate has been severely hurt. Severely hurt. Fair chance many people will get demotivated. So, what is needed in this situation? Only commitment to civil service will not work. Dedication. You are ready to walk an extra mile. You are ready to sacrifice your life. You are ready to put your life in line for the sake of service towards people. So, that kind of fierceness, clarity, compassion can come only when dedication is there in your heart. So, dedication, okay, to gather all productive resources in the crisis. Then compassion towards the victims. You need to understand, if they're seething with anger, there is a reason. What would be your stance if something similar would have happened to you? So despite education, despite exposure, you also would have lost your balance, cool, or composure. These people are not so empowered, not so educated, so maybe the reactions are more extreme, more averse, but you have to handle the situation compassionately. Okay. Again, you need emotional intelligence, not to let anger and frustration deviate the civil servant, your own team, and you are yourself capable to coolly observe the objective realities of the situation and solve it effectively. All right. So, this is associated with what are the qualities needed. The answer actually starts from here, this slide. Previous slide is giving an overview. What is the challenge or facts of the case, or the background, how you should have understood the question. Now, after this, you see response to the situation, which is the core answer. So, the core answer is first, you motivate the team and you put the rescue operation as top priority. Okay, despite the fact that one of the members is hurt, top priority is what? To like continue with rescue operations. So managing the anger of victims. So till the people they see that administration is in action to save and help the people, you can see that their action will not be under control. So what is needed? So team members need to put service before self and bear with the anger of the people. So it needs values like compassion, dedication, emotional intelligence. Now, always remember when you are like speaking to the seniors of, like, let's say that society, or speaking to the able bodied men in that society. Why did I use the word able bodied men? Because in rescue operation, you need a lot of physical strength to pick people if they are falling somewhere, or if they are like drowning. So able bodied youth is needed to be inspired. So the second phase, after talking to the leaders, you are collecting able bodied youth to become volunteer, because your team is insufficient, your team is like running short of staff, the route of providing like relief is disrupted. You are talking that just like you people, even we are stranded, and we have to bring about a change working together. We are in the same boat, we are not in a separate situation, we are in the same boat. Yes, your condition is more severe because you have lost home, property, loved ones, so situation is more terse in your situation. But look at this objective reality where we all are standing, and then how we all together can bring about a change. Even I have left my family, all my situations, and ready to sacrifice my life if needed, for the sake of saving the lives of all the old people, women, children of the society. So when you collect the volunteers, then what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to secure the life of women, elderly, and children on top priority, because these are the most vulnerable people. They can easily get drowned or killed. And another thing is, the society is generally very sensitive about these relations pertaining to women, the senior citizens in the family, and the children. So the moment you are able to secure their lives, you are able to generate a lot of confidence, you are able to generate a lot of, I would say, faith. Okay, so that's something which you can connect in this given situation. So in case studies, answers, write ourselves from our mind. No, Misbah, not mind, from syllabus. Recall the subtopics discussed in the syllabus. And if you remember the key words, the key segments discussed in the syllabus, answer will not be too random. It will not be haphazard. There will be an organization in thinking. You will be able to pick the right set of words, insights from what has been taught in theory, and put it in the case study. All right, Misbah? I hope you are understanding that. So you have to write by not opening books and notes, definitely. What you have perceived in your mind, that has to be articulated, but not any common sense, not any casual reflection. From your mind, you have to first connect it with the syllabus. And after connecting it with the syllabus, recall the keywords and then write. All right. Case studies easily cross word limit. That will happen only when you have not practiced. If you are a practiced soul, you understand that there is a constant challenge to maintain word limit versus completing all question, touching upon all question. You will not risk leaving questions, right? So Pulkit, that will not be a challenge if you actually practice and you become very pro. You remember a list of values, remember a list of challenges, remember list of solutions related to everything. So you must be noticing in every topic I was offering solutions, I was offering suggestions, I was giving examples. Just memorize it thoroughly. Put it to action thoroughly so that you can, when you are dealing with it, you are not slow. You are like fast in recalling. And then the keywords. I'm giving language over here because simple thing, this is something which you'll read even 6 months later. So if I don't give language, you won't be able to understand. But in the exam, you can write down motivating the team, comma, continuing with rescue operation needs to be top priority, full stop. Service before self, compassion and dedication, along with emotional intelligence, can facilitate the same, full stop. So you can see the keywords which needs to go in the answer. I've underlined only that. So you can cut short a lot of content which is given here as an explanation. The explanation is also necessary because you are a beginner student. Okay. So learn how to make a gist. So I'm already giving a gist, how to like crisply present this given dimension. Okay. So I hope you are seeing how the response is getting articulated bit by bit. Now, the student who is asking conclusion, Prakhar, how can I jump to conclusion when I'm already in the midst of the question? You think, will it be fair for other students that suddenly the teacher is talking about the points, what steps of action should be taken, and suddenly is like surpassing all 5 points, suddenly just jumping to, oh, because Prakhar has asked, conclusion should be this. Will it be fair? So you should be patient. You should just see what all points are discussed. After all points are discussed, then what conclusion I offer. Simple. If I miss the conclusion, then you can say, ma'am, I could not sense the conclusion. Can you support me with that? Right? Now, that's how you behave in a matured manner, like an officer, like pro, like alert, like understanding the segments, exercising compassion to your classmates, understanding the wholesome framework of the game, because everyone is fighting together. You are fighting with everyone else for achieving success, and they are fighting with you. Fighting means not amongst yourselves, together. Everyone is together to achieve the common goal. All right. So that's how you're supposed to reflect. So, with respect to this, again, shifting dislocated people to temporary service facility is also important to take advantage of economies of scale. What is economies of scale? I underlined it, though it's not needed. When you're creating huge tents, relief rooms, so when like you're getting like truckloads of food and distributing amongst them, like truckloads of supply of medicines distributing amongst them, that's economies of scale. So when you create a temporary facility, in one go you can serve many. If you are creating individual huts, so that individual huts will create a challenge in distributing resources. That's why you need to take advantage of economies of scale. That's the expression, economies of scale, if you don't know the term. Now, people at one common place can be supplied basic amenities more easily. It will also be administratively easy to manage people at one common place. Okay. So, when you bring people at one place, you can make quick interventions related to all of them in one go. So, you can say dislocated people shifted to temporary service facility, okay, at one common place. That's it. Restoration of basic supplies, that's another thing. After the restoration of basic supplies, suppose you are running short of staff, call for help. Call your seniors and say that you need the help of special forces, CRPF, or any relief team which is associated with disaster management, anything. But restoration with the support of special forces. What shows? This shows that you are a team worker. You are not like solo player. We need a person, a leader who is a team worker. So that value gets expressed here. Again, contacting superior authorities and seeking their guidance also, because there's a fair chance your seniors have experienced such situation. So the moment you catch a breath as the relief work is going on, just make a call to your senior that, sir, you also must have witnessed this in this year during your service period. What is the course of action you took, so that any step that I am missing, I should not miss it and I should continue working in that direction. That shows seeking wisdom. That shows seeking inspiration, mark of a leader. Further, engaging civil society, so the NGOs or any kind of group relief group, community based organization, voluntary organization, they can also be encouraged to participate in this given situation. Yes, with minimum resources, maximum output. That's what Ilma. Very good. Because Ilma, you have been practicing case studies no for past 2 weeks. It is visible in the language you are using, the sharpness in the language that you are having. That is what happens when you continually indulge in answer writing practice. It improves upon your expression. You effortlessly start arriving at the right words. Okay, this should be inspiring everyone in the class. Now, so when we are discussing about engaging civil society and helping in seeking their help in rescue operation, then you can also see once the emergency situation gets normalized, restore the people back to their normal life, try to relocate them to their original, we can say original places, or undertaking reconstructions, because you need to cool off the possibility, not that once relief work is done, once people are saved, your work is done. No, they have been dislocated from their place, they have lost homes. So relocation, rehabilitation is also a part of relief work. So there is immediate short term efforts and there are long term efforts associated with the idea of relief. Okay, now as I had told you, remember that in conclusion you should always bring in civil services values. So you should bring civil services values. If you know any important quotation of a thinker, you can incorporate that as well. Okay, so let's see here. So with respect to this, when we are talking about it, in the conclusion, bring the values, the civil services values that you upheld, that you upheld. After this given dimension, you should also speak of if you know a quotation, if a quotation suiting the situation, a quotation suitable for the situation is there, means you can recall, then it can also be expressed. Can we take the help of relief of NGOs, local NGOs? So, yes, Prakhar, as you are talking about it, you can see this term that is mentioned, point number 6, engaging civil society. So, civil society is an umbrella term used for pressure groups, NGOs, self-help groups. You can think of community-based organizations, environmental groups, citizens charter, youth-based groups, women's groups, okay, sports groups. It's an umbrella term. Everything gets included. All right. So that's what you learn. When you know the technical words, you can deal with it. Okay. So um, yes, you can use this. Start where you are. Use what you can and do what you use what you can and do what you can. Okay, Arthur Ashe. Yes, you can use this quotation, Deepika. It is spot on. It suits the question. Now, I have created something more for all of you, which you can see. Even if in your darkest hour, you can think of something positive. Yes, you can think of that also, write that also. You can see this given question. This is of 2017. Remember, I told you 2017 and 19 were way apart. I told you that there was this IPS officer who was caught red handed cheating in the prelims exam using a Bluetooth, getting tips from his wife. So he was blocked from appearing for the exam for next 5 years, and the 5 years were only that were remaining for him to appear for the exam, like that is civil services exam. By age, only 5 years were left, and that was blocked, that he should never be able to appear for the exam again. That was the legal action taken, but that was raised. How come this boy, when he got selected, he had brilliant marks in ethics? So everyone started discussing that, and UPSC was brought under scanner. So this boy, he had more than 135. It was 138 or in 140s, early 140s, but he had very good marks in ethics. He was not the topper, but he was amongst top 10 that year. So when he that thing was brought to scanner, a very new trend was created in 2017. Luckily for all of you, that trend is not there. And the trend was this 2017 question paper. So 2013, 14, 15, 16, you will see the nature of questions that were asked is the same nature of question which again we are seeing UPSC has reverted back to in 2020, 2019 or 2021, 2022. Okay, we have gone back to the old track, but this was created in 2017. A question or two of 2018 was also quite twisted, arm twisting kinds. So 2017 was a twisted year, and that was the only year when majority of the students were struggling to get even 100 marks in ethics. Students got 94, 98. Even toppers, like all India under 100 students were getting 105, 106. Like highest that was there in that specific year was something closer to 128 or 130. But the interesting part was that was only one student. Few students had in 115, 118. Bulk of them were 100, around 100 or less. Okay, around 100 or less. People also got in 70s and 60s, like severe marking, as if UPSC was on a vengeance ride. Now see, when the questions are long, the journey becomes easy. When the questions are short, it becomes tedious to respond. See this one. You are an honest and responsible civil servant. Now imagine you have to write 250 words, and for that these are teeny tiny questions, not having much to explore. There is a general perception adhering to ethical conduct, one may face difficulties to oneself and cause problems for family, whereas unfair practices means when you are like going for unfair practices, it may help to reach career goals. Okay. So it's like examine the above statement with their merits and demerits. So what is the merit in this case? So whether you should prioritize your family or you should go corrupt, and that will also help in promotion. So which side will you choose and why? Merit and demerit. Okay. Now if I divide 250 words, so 125 words, and 125 words divided further into two parts. So it is around 70 words that you can or 65 words that you can write for every one of them. So like let's say something around 65, 60, 65 if I write down. So 60 to 65, 60 to 65. Uh-huh. Again 60 to 65 and 60 to 65. This is what the examiner expected you to do. And this is year 2017. The most hotcake question, the most different nature of question, which you can see. So when the number of people adopting unfair means is large, a small minority having a penchant towards ethical means makes no difference. Do you believe in this? So all popular we can say commonsensical reflections which encourages people to go corrupt was incorporated in the questions. Again, sticking to ethical means is detrimental to the larger developmental goals. Many people say that by being corrupt you can ease work, by being honest you create more roadblocks and work gets delayed. So that is what is picked here, that commonsensical notion. Again you can see, while one may involve oneself in large unethical practices, but giving and accepting small, so one may not. Okay, a person may not be unethical, a person may be very honest, very upright, but accepting small gifts makes the system more efficient. So should you accept small gifts or not? Writing in 60 words, 60 to 65 words, there's a fair chance a student knows in 20 25 words or 30 words and struggling to stretch up the question, right? So that's something which all of you need to reflect upon. So here I've offered the solution. You can read it at peace. So first situation, demerit and then merit. You must be noticing the opposite method that I have used. Why demerit and then merit? Because the examiner has asked you to choose demerit and merit, discuss demerit and merit of the situation. If you discuss merit and then demerit, the negative impact will become more weighty because what you read towards the end has greater psychological impact. But it is not demerit that you can choose. That's why reverse the order. That's also a smart move. So you discuss first the demerit and then you discuss the merit. Okay, merit by having a meritorious conduct, what you are going to achieve. So what you're writing towards the end will have a more profound impact towards you being a positive personality. Okay, so demerit, then merit. You can see this. Again, you can see with respect to the second case also, first the demerit is discussed and then the merit is discussed. Again, the third case, first the demerit is discussed and then merit. And fourth case, first the demerit is discussed and merit. I have not necessarily stuck to the so-called 60-65 words that I have like incorporated. I have created something for all of you, a little stretchy, like just 5-10 words stretchy, so that you understand the language when you are reading it and you are getting a wholesome understanding of this given dimension. Okay, so you need to understand this given segment and this. Hence, it is essential to nip this menace in the bud. We need to, like, cut down these problems at the nascent stage itself. This is the expression, phrasal expression, nipping this menace in the bud. Not accepting any form of gifts indicates a strong moral and ethical character. So, the values that you upheld, you can see that, the dimensions you upheld, preserving the trust of the people. So, trust, the value that you are upholding. That's how you're supposed to bring in conclusion, which I had shared even in the previous session 2 weeks back. That whenever you have to conclude a case study, try to bring in the civil services values. That brings depth. Okay, and you can also discuss maybe some thinkers and all. All right. So, like, I towards this given dimension, when we are discussing about this approach, you can read it at peace and get a wholesome understanding. So, this is what I would like to say or declare towards the end of this session as we are wrapping up the session today. It has been quite a roller coaster ride interacting with all of you. And I used to really appreciate when at 6 o'clock, when I used to log in, I used to see so many students used to just join the session immediately. It was so enervating. And within 10 minutes, like so many of you used to be so punctual and be there and be connected and bit by bit climbing up the ladder and understanding this discipline. Despite the challenge that there was no academic background, all of you were open to learn it. As it is popularly said that you cannot, a giver cannot give if the receiver is not ready to receive. And as it is, my grandpa used to say that सुपात्र और कुपात्र दोनों तरह के होते हैं. पहले पहचानो सुपात्र and then see what the person can hold. So जिसके पास जितना बड़ा कटोरा होगा वो उतना ही लेगा. That means the amount or the capability you have to receive, that is what you can receive. And I would say, like, by God's grace, I was lucky enough to find like focused students who were ready to receive, who are open to receive, and bit by bit, session after session, you were connecting with what was being discussed. uh, I tried to give you my best, yet if there is any insufficiency, I apologize for the same, because uh, I just tried to like create as much as possible. And with every passing day, every passing year, we become better. So that's why I'm saying that I apologize, because I believe that the future version of me should be better than the present version of me. And another thing which I would advise to all of you is, please practice a lot. Practice, practice, and practice. That is key to success in civil services exam. Perseverance is the key, or dedication is the key. So the more you practice, the greater your tendency of gaining clarity in language, in thought, in precision, in expression shall come. Whether it is essay, whether it is like ethics, whether it is any paper of GS or optional, all it needs is first clarity of concept, then reflection, and then practicing. So integrate the wholesome approach, and I wish and pray and bless all of you for like your success in your life, all the coveted goals you aspire to achieve and which is meant for you, and which is like motivated by values, the larger than life values. May all of you be successful in all those goals, not only just civil services but other aspirations of life as well. Okay, so thank you all of you, and take care. Those who are interested to reach out to me, this is my mail ID. So as per like the suitability of uh, the timetable, I shall respond accordingly. All right, so this is what. God bless all of you individually, and take care. Thank you so much. the chat.